Lots of energy today, boys. Hi, hello, Bills Mafia. Welcome to the Buffalo Fanatics Writers Room, part of the Buffalo Fanatics Tailgate pregame show. My name is Adam Nannini. I am the chief editor here at Buffalo Fanatics, and I am joined by a room filled with spicy hot wingmen. We have Jeremy Allen. He is one of our parody writers. Very funny stuff. If you haven't read his stuff and you need a giggle, check his stuff out on the buffalofanatics.com. We have Mitch Broder beneath me. He writes our Thursday Thought column. And finally, we have Mr. Zach Vaughn. Zach, man, this is a big day, isn't it? When was the last time, how old were you when the Bills won the AFC East last?
Yeah, well, I kind of tweeted about this a little earlier in the day, but all I know is everyone talks about all the glow-ups that had happened since 95, like The Rock from 1995 to now. I kind of just tweeted, well, 1995, I didn't exist, and 2020, I exist. So that's a pretty good glow-up, in my opinion. And I would like to wish everyone a Merry Billsmas. If you have no idea what that is, wait for my latest article.
Ooh, exciting times. That's a nice plug there. Man, didn't exist. You know, Zach, existence is important. I'm glad you exist.
Thank you.
Jeremy, how about you, man? What was the last time you saw the Bills win the AFC East? And, you know, can you remember it? What do you think?
I was 7, and I wasn't watching or remembering because I was just probably not interested in watching football at that time.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Mitch, I have a guess on this one. I'm guessing you also were not alive. But if you weren't, looking back, what do you think of when you think of those teams that were just rolling through the AFC back in the day?
Yeah, you're right. Wasn't alive either. My parents, I don't think you were even married yet. I mean, this is, way back in the family history here. But, from what I hear back in the day, man, I mean, Western New York was the center of, football, basically. And everyone around here is all about the Bills all the time. And, it feels like we're kind of starting to see that, popping up again, which is, great to see. So, I guess, better late than never. So I'll take it.
Man, you guys are making me feel old. I won't say how old I was, but I was old enough to remember this is bad. I need to have a midlife crisis, I think. All right, speaking of the AFC East, I mean, look, guys, the Patriots have dominated this division for how long? The Jets last won it in 2002. The Patriots won it, Dolphins won it in 2007, I believe, when Brady went down. No, 2008. Apologies. When Brady went down. We haven't won since 95, and that is 25 years. I guess what I'm wondering is, does it matter to you that we win the division, or is it just important that we make the playoffs? Let's see, Jeremy, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it matters that you win the division because, obviously, winning the division is going to get you to the playoffs. So I think the fact that you are beating the people in your division is absolutely just as important. So yeah, division, absolutely.
All right. Mitch, a question for you on this one. So, we may win the division today. All we need is a win or a Dolphins loss tomorrow, and we are in. Let's hope the Dolphins beat those Patriots and just put a final nail in that coffin tomorrow. I know it's better for us if the Dolphins lose. I don't care. Okay. But, Mitch, what do you think is the key ingredient when you look at this team to them overcoming some of these hurdles, the 17-year drought, 25 years without winning the division? We haven't had a primetime win in the 21st century, and then all of a sudden we have 2 in a week. So, Mitch, what is the quality that you think is making this happen?
I mean, I think it goes to Sean McDermott's whole, idea of preaching, with focus and, kind of week by week preparation. I mean, I think what we've seen with the Bills teams of the past that fell short was that they often didn't show up in those crucial moments of the season. And since McDermott's taken over, that has not really happened with this team, outside of maybe that Houston playoff game from last year. Otherwise, on the big stages and the games that matters most, they've shown up and played well. And I think that has been the biggest thing that I've noticed from what's taken this team from a mediocre, maybe in the playoffs team to what we're seeing, today, which is a team that's on the precipice of winning the division. They're just focused every week. They play up to the competition. And I think you got to give, Sean McDermott a ton of credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, boy, Mitch, well said. Zach, I got a question for you, sort of along those lines, but let's talk players. Let's take out Josh Allen out of this equation because I think everyone will say that, but I think it's a little too obvious, and I'm not sure he is the biggest contributor. When you think of leaders on this team, maybe 2 or 3 guys that you think are really contributing to like this overcoming the past and, leading the team with that winner's mentality, are there guys that stand out to you in that idea?
Yeah, I would say that there are a couple of guys that we don't usually talk about who may not be the most vocal leaders, but they seem to show an example on the field. The 2 that I would name would be Jordan Poyer, who actually is a team captain, so he technically is probably a vocal leader, and also Levi Wallace, who, as Fanatics contributor Ben Blakely pointed out, he likes to let his play do the talking. Or actually, I might be thinking of Taryn Johnson instead. But either way, I think Levi Wallace has kind of exemplified that process mentality because he was basically walk-on for both Alabama and Buffalo on the scout team for both and made his way to the starter. And he's made the most of his opportunities. Everyone's been giving him a hard time recently, but last week he had that crucial pick that sealed the game. He always seems to show up. Even if he does struggle a bit, he's always doing something. He's exemplifies what McDermott and Frazier want in that position. And, of course, Jordan Poyer, as I previously mentioned, he is a team captain, but he's also one of those guys who was underlooked, and then he came to Buffalo, and he balled out. He's been balling out every year. I'm surprised he hasn't actually been in a Pro Bowl yet, but he's getting that Pro Bowl nod, and it's well-deserved.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You can't tell me that he is Levi Wallace is not somehow the secret son of Leslie Frazier. Those guys had similar careers. Both are overlooked, and man, they look kind of similar, don't they? I'm just saying. They might want to go in the Maury Povich show. That's not my business. So Logan wants us to talk about Christian Wade. One thing I'll say about Christian Wade, but what I love about this team, to sort of tack on to what you guys were saying, is that you see Christian Wade do his interviews. You see, he interviews the guys about Britain and sort of English slang and stuff, but everybody is having fun, and I think that really matters. And you see that in the old teams, and any of the great winning teams, they typically have fun, except for the Patriots, okay, who cheat and use evil spells to do what they need to do. And thank you for bringing up that Ben Blakely article, Zach. Ben Blakely has been writing these bomber, absolute amazing profile pieces. He wrote a great one about Leslie Frazier and now Levi Wallace. And another one that just got written is about Taryn Johnson, and that's by you, Zach. I want to just kind of have you plug that article and tell us what you think about his impact today.
Okay, so first of all, yes, I did write that article. It was really interesting to research because he was by far the standout player from last week's game. His pick six, that 51-yard pick six at the end of the first half, that completely changed the outcome of the game. You could see the momentum drastically shifted in Buffalo's favor. But anyways, so like as the player profile, I was doing my research for the article, which came out on Tuesday. It's on thebuffalofanatics.com. Check it out. And it was very compelling. I was doing my research and I found this story about how his mother had passed away from cancer when she was very young and he was very young, and that his mother was the one who introduced him to football and first signed him up. And it just talked about, and then there were plenty of articles out there that I used in my research that showed how his family had saw the competitive drive in him at a young age. I believe that his father had talked about in an article with Joe Buscaglia, who was at the time with Buffalo, with Channel 7 in Buffalo, that they were at a picnic and he was 3 years old, that all these kids were like faster than him or everything, but he still went out there and was racing them. He was trying his hardest. And he had said that he could kind of see that competitive drive. I also found another little tidbit that Taryn Johnson's older sister, Triana, was a track star at BYU and got All-American honors. And one thing that stood out was then I saw next to that was that he had many times said that ever since the age of 3, he had been chasing her accomplishments. I mean, I can speak on all younger brothers when I say, yes, we do chase our sisters around a lot. And it doesn't even stop when we turn into adults. I mean, but that's besides the point. Getting back to Taryn Johnson, and then the fact that he came out of high school in Sacramento, California, and he played both receiver and corner, and he did some stuff on special teams too in high school. And he only got one scholarship offer to Weber State. It is pronounced Weber. Don't say Weber. Apparently that's a thing. I mean, and he said that he didn't know much about the college other than that's where Damian Lillard went. And he said that his goal was to become the Damian Lillard of football.
Wow.
At Weber State. So he went there, he played 4 years, and he actually still has the all-time school records for pass breakups.
Wow.
With 42. He had 42 in 4 years. And he has the single season record in passes defense, which he did twice with 12 in back-to-back seasons. He was really good in college. And the thing is, nobody knew who he was. It was an FCS school. Weber State was an FCS school. The only reason I knew who Taryn Johnson was because at the combine, he did the individual drills and got hit in the face with a football. So then I was a little surprised when I saw the Bills draft him in the 4th round. And then I was like, wait, is that the guy who got hit in the face with a football at the combine? But he has actually proven over his past 3 years that he is actually really good as a nickel corner. He is a stud. I know we've been giving him a hard time this year about blown coverage. And yes, he has missed some coverages, but he has that physicality like Levi Wallace, like Dane Jackson, like Trey White, that McDermott and Frazier crave in cornerbacks. And that's why he's so good. He basically, I think it was Jordan Poyer who said it prior to the season. Thank you for reading the article, by the way. I really appreciate that. To the viewers' comment is up there. And anyways, Jordan Poyer had said before the season that Taryn Johnson plays one of the most difficult positions in football because you have to know a little bit of everything, but that he also plays it with a safety mentality in a cornerback's body. Like he and Poyer have that in common. They're both undersized for their positions, but they both play like they're the biggest man on the field because they have that dog mentality. That was not.
Well, let me cut you off. Let me cut you off. I got the dogs barking over here. With that mentality of the dog element, the dog mentality and dogs barking in the background. Apologies for that. Mitch, I'm curious. I want to come to you real quick. What do you think that mentality? What do we see from him today? From the corner position, and how important is he? Because I know he had the concussion, but it looks like he's going to play this week, though it's possible the Bills might hold him out like they did Mitch Morse. What do you think?
I mean, Taryn Johnson's been important for this defense. I mean, he changed the game last week. You can't deny that. That pick six completely gave the Bills all the momentum, and they never looked back. And, like, Zach said, I mean, he did get off to kind of a rough start earlier in the season. And, a lot of people were calling for him to be benched, for them to look into other options at nickel. But again, as we talked about with this McDermott process, right? A lot of it is putting faith in his guys that he believes that they're going to work their way through these, maybe these issues that they're having. And sure enough, he has. And, I think that if he's healthy, the Bills want to play him, because when Taryn Johnson's playing at a high level, it makes a difference for this defense. We saw it last year when he was banged up. They struggled a little bit, came back in the lineup, played well. So I think that he's a guy they rely on, especially in run support. He's been huge in that this season and helped their run defense improve a little bit. So I think if he's healthy and he's ready to go, they got to play him.
I'm with you entirely. Apologies about the dog. So, Jeremy, when you think of Taryn Johnson, I mean, I feel like you have a different mind for football. You're going to take things from a different perspective and a unique one. What do you see from that guy, and how does he contribute to the secondary group in general? Let me mute myself.
I kind of just think about how he's been, since he's been here. I know his first year, he showed a lot of potential, but then he was getting injured. Second year was probably a little bit more of a down year. So I think we've all been kind of waiting for him to kind of go back to form, like show that potential that we've seen, like that ceiling in him. And I'm with the rest of the guys. The first half of this season, he was kind of like AJ Klein and Tremaine Edmonds were like, what is going on? Like, he is a liability. He just doesn't seem like he was doing his job very well. And I'm like everybody else, I was almost ready to move on from him. But like Tremaine Edmonds and, and just like Taryn Johnson, for me, I kind of realized that, these players are getting better when I'm not like getting mad or going off on them at the game. Like when the game ends and I was like, oh, hey, like I haven't said anything bad about this player today. They must be doing better. Taryn Johnson, yeah, he's definitely been a lot better these past few games. Just like a lot of the defense, honestly, like these last few games, they've really been coming into it. So, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. And it is interesting. You do get to see the Bills defense in general improve. Like, it seems like they've gotten better every week. And that was a great take on the secondary. Let's do a quick around the room sort of talk about, like, what are you seeing from this defense? What is it that you're seeing they're improving? Is there anything in particular that you're like, ooh, they're doing this better? They're, changing this up. Their scheme is different. Zach, let's start with you. Let's just do this one real quick here.
Well, I think the defense just all around is doing a lot better. And it's because obviously the thing with the McDermott defense is usually they do start out slow, but then they catch up eventually in the season. It does take a little bit to get the kinks worked out, but the way that they're scheming the players, the way the players are executing their assignments, everything's going a lot better. And you can tell by the way the players are acting when they're on the field and on the sideline dancing about after a big play.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Jeremy, you mentioned the cornerbacks, but let's talk about the defense in general. What are you seeing from these guys?
Like I said, kind of back to everybody just coming into their own at like a very important part of the season. I really can't think of one defensive player anymore that like worries me. Like I said, in the first half, it was Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Klein, Taryn Johnson, even some of the defensive line. We weren't seeing like some of the penetration we wanted. We weren't liking what we were seeing for them, but even they've been doing better. I mean, Vernon Butler, like he's the guy the last couple of games that everybody's been mentioning. So that's like, I feel like another side on the defense that I have to mention as well. Levi Wallace, like he mentioned, he's even had like a bounce back game.
Yep,
so
yep.
Like I said, I really can't pick one person who worries me right now. Hopefully Levi Wallace can keep it up. Like I said, he did have a nice bounce back game, but again, I can't think of one person that is worrying me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It does seem to be an all-around thing. It's not one person. I like that. Scott Blakely says, in my opinion, I love to see that confusion that Leslie applies, pressure. Mitch, tell us about what you're seeing from the Bills' pressure these last few games.
I mean, I think we're seeing almost a carbon copy of what we saw in 2018, I think it was, where the beginning of the season, for whatever reason, Leslie Frazier was calling a very conservative kind of game plan, a lot of soft coverages, not really blitzing, and they kind of got, diced up early on. And just like 2018, to Leslie Frazier's credit, man, he completely changed, made adjustments and dialed up blitzes and, dialed up a lot of different coverages that confuses quarterbacks. And, I think that has once again made this defense a different animal than what we saw earlier in the year. So you could tell, I mean, they are blitzing in teams like Matt Milano or Taryn Johnson like every other snap, and it's working. If they're getting to the quarterback, they're making them uncomfortable, and it's leading to turnovers. So, the listener's right. I mean, that pressure is working, and it's really transformed this defense, I think, down the stretch.
Oh, I totally agree. And one thing I've been kind of keen to see is you've seen also like Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, because usually they'll do that double A gap blitz, basically right over the center. But you've seen, especially Edmonds, coming off the edge, like a true edge rusher, which has been really interesting. Guys, Richard Katahena, I can't say your name. Sorry, sir. Richard says Trey 2 interceptions. Jeremy, I want to start with you. Drew Lock earlier this week said he's not going to be afraid to throw at Tre'Davious White. Smart? Not smart.
Yeah, before that, he was giving like the usual praise to Tre'Davious White, saying, we're always going to be aware of where he is. And then he kind of followed that up with like, every football player, they want to show some type of confidence. And he tried to follow it up with a confident comment saying, but he's like, if my read takes me there, like, I'm not going to second guess it. And I saw that and I tweeted, I was like, Trey wants you to do it. He's like, yeah, throw it to him. And I think all of us want you to also, when he says like, I'm not going to second guess it. I think all of Bills fans are like, good, please do it. Like, we want to see it. So I hope he keeps his word on that one.
Yes, man, I love it. And, we all do, please.
I want to throw in there, and, with Tre'Davious White, it's like, you don't always have to be throwing it at Tre'Davious White for him to make a play. We've seen like once this season, the Seattle game, and then once in Pittsburgh last year, where he's kind of just like watching. Oh, I'm sorry. I can only think of the Seattle game where he's on somebody else watching the quarterback, and he goes, "Oh, he's going over here," and he just leaves this guy alone and picks him off. So it's like, don't even worry about Tre'Davious White. He still might surprise you and make you look sad.
Oh yeah, and he has done that a number of times in his career. Let's pivot a little bit to Drew Lock. Drew Lock has gotten some comparison to Josh Allen because their numbers are similar from their first year, roughly. And it's not great. I mean, Allen's numbers weren't great first year. And Eric Schmidt, he was the Buffalo Fanatics spy. He writes a piece about the opposing team and some element of their team. He wrote a piece that came out today about Drew Lock and sort of what to look for. One thing Lock does is he throws the highest percentage of deep passes in the NFL. Also, according to PFF, take that for what you will, he's the worst at it. The Bills, what does this mean for this Bills defense? How are they going to respond to Drew Lock? What do you think they're going to do? Now, one thing he brought up as well is that, when you're doing long passes, you need time to develop the play, right? So how is this going to be approached by the Bills defense? Zach, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you think the Bills are going to do scheme-wise?
Well, I think they're going to just dare him to throw deep. Be like, well, if you want to do it and you're terrible at it and you want to throw it at Trey White, go ahead. We'll put it cover 4. We dare you. We triple dog dare you. They're going to skip all the levels of dares and just go to triple dog dare. Make him throw it deep. Make him beat you. You have Micah Hyde who can cover if you have a cover 1 or a cover 3 situation. He could be that center field guy. Jordan Poyer is a great coverage guy. The Bills secondary is just great at coverage. And the one thing will be whether or not the Bills can get consistent pressure on him, though I think that the Broncos offensive line has also had its struggles this year. So I just think in general, you're going to key in on the run because they have 2 great running backs, and you're going to dare Drew Lock to beat you in the passing game.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Mitch, I'm going to come to you. A similar question, but I want to add the element of Noah Fant and Matt Milano. Fant has had kind of a coming out party this year. He looks really good as that Denver tight end. And Matt Milano is an excellent tight end cover linebacker, but he's still getting, limited snaps. Last week, I believe he went up to 47%, up from 31 the game prior. So obviously he's getting healthier. The team is, watching him, but we may need him today to contain Fant. What do you see from him, and how do you think they're going to control the middle of the field like that?
I mean, as you alluded to, I think that snap count is just only going to climb for Matt Milano. He's getting healthier, and, we've talked about all season, man. When Matt Milano's healthy, that's a different defense. And I think that this is a type of game where someone like Noah Fant, who's Drew Lock's security blanket, who's probably their best overall player at the moment on offense, Matt Milano, this is kind of why you have him on the team, is to take out a tight end like this. So I think we'll be seeing him. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily, 100% of the snaps or anything crazy like that. They still might not have him out there for, I'm thinking maybe 55, 60%. But still, though, if they can have him on the field on Noah Fant, I think that they will. I mean, this team does like to play a lot of zone anyways. And, that seems to, be able to work against some tight ends. Mm-hmm. But, as you guys have kind of been talking about the deep ball, again, like if they want to throw it deep on Poyer and Hyde and White, by all means do it. And then, you got Edmonds and Milano, athletic linebackers to deal with athletic tight ends. So, again, you kind of got to think that matches up actually like pretty decent for the Bills.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the zone is perfectly a good matchup. And we run the zone, really well. We confuse teams with that. We look like we're running man and we drop into a zone, and McDermott seems to be the master of that sort of thing. I'm going to get to the offense here in just a minute, but Jeremy, I'm curious, you write these comedy pieces. Do you have any over-under for the rest of us, that maybe you could throw at us and see what our take is?
This is kind of more pertaining to the announcers, but I would say, how many times do you think the announcers talk about the elevation in Denver? Over, under, I'm going to say started at 11.5.
Okay. Over, under 11.5. And I think that might be low. I don't know, Zach. Over, under. Announcers today, 11.5. An elevation conversation.
Oh, that's a definite over. I'm surprised it's set at 11.5. It's probably going to be more like over 100. But
you run to Vegas on that one, right? You're like, oh yeah, take this. Mitch, what do you think? Over, under 11.5 elevation conversation.
Oh, I'm taking the over. I mean, I can even picture it. Any player running off the field that looks a little tired. Oh, it's the elevation in Denver. We're far Allen through it. It's that thin air in Denver. Get used to it. We're going to be hearing it probably all throughout the broadcast today.
I once flew to Southern California. I had to do a stopover in Denver, and I never left Denver. The elevation just knocked me out. I was done. I'm also going the over. That's an easy one. In fact, I wonder if Judge Mathis this week, Steve-O, talked about how Josh Allen played in Laramie, Wyoming, and that Laramie is something like 1,800 feet higher than, or maybe it's almost 2,000 feet higher than Denver. I disagree with that. The reason why that's not a big deal is that usually it's defenders and offensive linemen and receivers getting tired. Usually it isn't the quarterback wearing out. So I don't know if that's going to be much of an advantage. So we might see Josh Allen throw the ball, 90-yard pass. He could. Speaking of, with that thin air, Jeremy, I want to come to you on this. Do you think we might see Tyler Bass or Josh Allen really try to go deep on something today? Is Coach McDermott going to be like, go deep, boys, chicks dig the long ball?
I can see them definitely letting Josh go for it, and Tyler Bass as well. We saw him let Tyler Bass go for like a 61-yarder, I believe, this season. So yeah, I can see both of them happening today. Probably especially a Tyler Bass field goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Bojorquez is at least about a week and a half ago, he was only a half a yard short in terms of average punts per over a season. That record is still held by Washington Redskins at the time, quarterback Sammy Ball. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's true. He holds the record. He was he led the team as a safety in interceptions. He led the league in that. He was the top-rated passer, and he led the league in punting. Pretty impressive. Sammy Ball, slinging Sammy Ball. Look it up, guys. NFL history. It's pretty good. All right, guys, let's get to this Bills offense. Now, before we do that, let's look at the injuries. John Brown was activated from the IR this week, and one of our medical writers, and we have a small staff of medical writers. It's pretty amazing. Gage Aziz talked about why John Brown should not play in Denver, and it's because he has sickle cell trait. So while he was activated from IR, McDermott said he's not playing this week. But I think that was the right move. While sickle cell trait is not the same as the disease, it can cause some of the same issues at high elevation. If you want to check out all the details on that, Gage Aziz did a great job on this. It's on the BuffaloFanatics.com. Check it out. I know we want to see John Brown back this week. We'll get to that in just a moment. The other guy that may be out on the offense is Lee Smith. Lee Smith, he hit his knee on Josh Allen's head. And we'll see if he's going to be back. I have a feeling he's not going to play today. So let's start with the Lee Smith thing. Zach, let's start with you real quick. With Lee Smith out, what are you expecting to see at the tight end position?
Well, first, I just want to say that hearing Lee Smith injured his knee hitting Josh Allen's head, that sounds like a Chuck Norris line there. Like, Lee Smith is the only person to knee Josh Allen in the head and then break his knee. Like, it sounds like that. But all that aside, I would fully expect Tyler Kroft to finally be activated again. I'm still befuddled by why he wasn't active the last couple of weeks, but we'll finally get to see him this week. Though I will say that I think Dawson Knox has done better, and I think it's because they're starting to figure out how to use him. He may not necessarily be the best deep ball threat, but he could be a reliable check down guy if you put him in a flat and he's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Scott Blakely asks a really good question. He says, with Denver expecting us to throw mid and long balls, do you think the first quarter is to establish the run? Mitch, that's a great question, I think. And what do you think about the Bills' run game this week? And do you think we might see more targets to Kroft if he plays than Dawson Knox?
I think that it's possible, but let's keep in mind, I mean, this coaching staff clearly has a belief in Knox. I mean, they've been playing him over Kroft the last few weeks. They've been targeting him a fair amount, honestly, as well. So I think that, Kroft, I mean, the reason why Lee Smith's been active is just to add some pass protection, some run support. So, maybe Kroft kind of fills that role. But, as far as do we see more of, the tight ends today, honestly, I actually think that this is a game where the Bills attack that weak secondary for Denver. They have 3 healthy corners on the roster. That's it. So, and I think like one of them's a rookie, one of them's a former safety who's trying to play nickel. And I can't remember about the other one, but it's also another inexperienced player. So, I mean, Diggs, Beasley, Gabe Davis. I mean, you got to like that matchup against those corners. So I think if anything, I think we're going to see a lot of passes to these receivers because that Denver secondary, specifically at cornerback, is literally as thin as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. You're right. 3, and I think you said it, it's like 2 practice squad guys and 1 rookie. We're not talking about the Legion of Boom over here, all right? So the Bills should go eat. With that in mind, Jeremy, Isaiah McKenzie, he's been our trick play guy. He's been a lot of fun. He certainly made some waves on social media, being a really fun guy to follow. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, check it out. But do you think we might see a fair amount of McKenzie today? And do you think the Bills might go 5 wide a fair amount with this limited secondary for Denver?
Yeah, I've kind of been noticing the last couple of games how they are actually scheming up plays for Isaiah McKenzie to do stuff, in front of the line of scrimmage. Where I always joke he's always kind of just getting those dump offs, or those ones where Josh just kind of does that for him, and it counts as a touchdown pass. But I've been saying the last couple of weeks that he's actually been getting big boy touchdown passes. He's been catching the ball in front of the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. So that could be interesting to see if they continue doing that. But yeah, as far as that, Gabe Davis, he's been stepping up. I can see them continuing with that. And going off of and echoing what Mitch said, I expect them to go out and just be confident with their passing game. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, how important as we may move to the playoffs, particularly because, we looks like we may have at least one home playoff game this year, and it may be in the snow. How important do you think it is that the Bills begin to establish a running game? Without Lee Smith in there, it's going to be a little tougher. But, we may be playing in the snow at Buffalo. We don't want that to be a disadvantage, Zach, what do you think? Should the Bills try to establish that these last few games?
Well, I figure that they will try to establish it at least a little bit, and at least a bit more than they did earlier in the season. I mean, last week we saw that what the Bills were able to do when they were able to run effectively in the fourth quarter, sealing the game with a 7-minute drive. That was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they did tear up New England on the ground for 121 rushing yards, but I know that was more of a personnel mismatch because they came out with 6 DBs instead of the standard 4 down linemen. But, yes, to answer the question, they're going to try to establish the run a bit more, get it on tape that teams need to take that into account, and it would be better ball security-wise for the Bills to be able to establish a ground game in the snow because you don't know whether or not your receivers could drop the ball.
That's a fantastic point. And, what I'm curious about is, Jeremy, when you've seen Moss and Singletary, just the eye test, like, who do you trust more? I mean, Zach brings up the point about the 7-minute drive last week. That was mostly Moss. And, Moss has had his ups and downs this season, Singletary as well. Certainly Singletary seems like the better blocker out of the backfield and the pass protector and the better receiver. But on just pure running the ball, who do you trust more, Singletary or Moss right now?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, Singletary's got that little bit more experience. There's times where it seems like, they obviously like Moss and they give him a little bit more touches, but I really can't think of one game where one of them has like truly outshined the other. So it's kind of hard. I guess I would kind of go with Singletary I think they're very similar. I think right now Singletary is a better pass blocker, and he's gotten even much better since last year. Moss probably getting better, so I would go with Singletary just because he's got that little bit more experience and he is a little bit better as a pass blocker. And outside of that, I think they're both very similar. That's
fair, and I like your take on that. You kind of have a little more versatility. Now, Mitch, tell Jeremy why he's wrong.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, we saw last week, despite the fact that Moss was essentially benched against San Francisco, right? When they needed to ice that game away against, a Pittsburgh team that they're battling right now for seeding, who got the handoffs? It was Zach Moss. And I kind of think that they sort of want Moss to eventually be the lead back in this offense. I think they think he might be a little bit more of that workhorse kind of guy, and Singletary more of the third down kind of back. And again, I do think that it's going to come down to matchups week by week. That's how Brian Daboll has always been since coming to the Bills. But, even before that San Francisco game, I mean, the snap count was starting to lean more in the favor of Zach Moss. I mean, he was starting to get, a little bit more than 50% of the snaps and get more than Singletary. So I think that they think, in January, in the playoffs, when the weather's ugly, you want that, big physical back in there who's just going to wear out, defensive front. So I think Zach Moss might be the guy, moving forward.
Oh, wow. All right. Mitch coming at Jeremy hot. I respect that. We got a comment from Richard. Again, I can't pronounce your name, Richard. I apologize. Chubb is the Bills' problem. All right. Well, we got a couple quick questions. Let's do this like sort of around the horn style. Like, who is the player or maybe even position group on the Broncos that scares you the most this afternoon? Zach, I'm going to start with you. Who scares you the most on this Broncos team?
Well, I would say if I have to choose who scares me the most, I would probably say Bradley Chubb, because the edge rushers going against Allen the last few weeks, you've seen they've been able to get some pressure. I mean, shout out to Darrell Williams, who basically shut down TJ Watt last week. That was excellent. But when I think about edge rushers, I think about Joey Bosa almost tearing Allen's knee up. So I would say that Bradley Chubb is a great young edge rusher. He's the reason the Bills have Josh Allen in the first place. But he could also be the biggest threat to the Bills and to Josh Allen today.
Look at Zach dropping draft history nugs. He's right. That's a great point because we tried to trade up with Denver, remember, and they didn't expect Chubb to fall to them, and they were like, no, we can't trade out of this. So we ended up having to trade up at a different position. Great memory there, Zach. Jeremy, who or what position group scares you most on this Denver team?
I probably would have went with Chubb as well. However, after, going from like how Bosa kind of manhandled us and then we were able to control TJ Watt, I think, can we have another surprise outing where, the other teams like star defensive end is kind of made irrelevant again. So it makes me a little more confident knowing that we do have that potential. But to come up with another one, I would say the position group that I would maybe worry about is, probably their running game. And because they do have that two-headed attack of Lindsey and Gordon, right? That's the one they said.
Yeah.
So maybe then. But again, it's like, am I that worried about it? The way our defense has kind of come in, how they've been the last few games, it's like I feel kind of confident about being able to slow them down, maybe not let that hurt us too bad.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeremy. I was wondering if the run game was going to come up with this. Mitch, I want to get your position or person you're most afraid of. Harness. How do the Bills try and control Bradley Chubb? That's a great question. Since he's been mentioned twice, and Mitch, I am sure he would be high on your list of players you'd be worried about. Is he that guy you're worried about? And how do you think the Bills will address the Chubb situation?
I mean, he's definitely a guy you have to be a little worried about. He's their best player on the team, probably as of right now. And, with him, I think that what has been working well for the Bills, I mean, we've seen Darrell Williams get that, half-second head start. Maybe it's a false start. I mean, hey, he's not getting called for it, so if it's working, keep doing it. But they've also had tight ends and running backs chip on those defensive ends, which has been working well too, just slowing them down a little bit, just giving Allen that half-second extra just to scan the field. So, I think that if they continue to kind of use that idea, that method, it seemed to have worked pretty well against TJ Watt. So, TJ Watt's I think a little bit better than Bradley Chubb. But that's, of course, no disrespect to Chubb. Watt's just a great player. So I think you start to see that. But I am also a little bit worried about Justin Simmons. He's not a guy that gets talked about a lot. He's their safety, and he's a really good player. He picked off Allen last year. And he's a guy that, even though, yes, these corners are bad, I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to really get a lot of those deep shots going today just because of him. I think we'll see a lot of kind of what we saw against Pittsburgh, that intermediate short area. But Justin Simmons is another guy to, you can't forget because he's an all-pro safety back there that, it's instinctual. He's fast. So I'd also keep an eye out for him as well.
Oh, man, that's some great takes there. You guys really summed that up, I think, pretty well for most of Bills Mafia. We got a comment. I just need to address this very quickly. Red Pill TMB says, from the teams we played, I don't see no teams beating us this upcoming stretch. Mr. TMB, this is the writer's room. Please work on your writing a little bit. I don't see any teams. Thank you. Just wanted to address that. Stay in school, kids. So, guys, when we think about the Bills today, who's a player you see possibly having a big game and playing off the weaknesses or strengths even of this Denver team? So it could be an offensive, defensive player, maybe somebody you wouldn't think about. Mitch, let's start with you. Let's go right back to you on this one. Who's somebody that you think about might have like a big game and maybe not someone Bills Mafia is paying attention to?
I'm going to go with Gabriel Davis. And I think that, Stephon, as we said, these cornerbacks for Denver, they're depleted. They got nobody. But they still have their two safeties with Simmons and Kareem Jackson. Those are two really good players. and their linebackers have been pretty good. So I think that they'll probably bracket Diggs. You'll see some linebackers trying to maybe shift over to Beasley's side. But Gabe Davis has really shown a lot of growth, I've thought, the last few weeks. And kind of similar to Chris Hogan, the guy's just somehow always open. I really don't know how and why, but the guy's just always wide open. And I think it's because he's kind of the forgotten man of the Bills' offense from these defenses. They focus so much on Allen. They focus so much on Diggs and Beasley. And they completely forget about Gabe Davis. He gets a lot of one-on-one matchups. And, against weak, number 2 and number 3 corners, he kind of has been getting the best. He's been beating them. So I could see him having a nice game today potentially for the Bills because of how much attention the other guys take from defenses.
Wow, Scott Blankley coming in hot. Gabe Davis is the next Andre Reed. Take it easy, Scott. Right. I appreciate it, but just tone it down just a bit. I like it, though. Jeremy, who's a player you're watching for today? Like, when you're watching the game, who's that person you're like, man, I think this guy, might have a big game and we might not see it coming?
Can I go with a position group instead of a player?
That's fine. Yep.
I think I would like to kind of see like the defensive line have a game today. Because we got to go after that. The run attack, and also I think we got to pressure Drew Lock into blitzing him, pressure him, and forcing him to make bad decisions. So I want to go with the defensive line this game, and it's kind of been we've heard like one player here and there the last few games. It's been a while since the defensive line or somebody like Jerry Hughes had against the Jets. So that's what I would like to see from today.
Yeah, I think you're right there. They need that to happen, especially if Locke's going to be holding the ball and going deep. Mr. TMB, I'm sorry that was harsh, but if I don't correct you, you'll never learn. It's out of love, all right? But so there's, I love your point about defensive line. Jeremy, real quick follow-up. Ed Oliver, big game?
But I was just thinking, it'd be nice to maybe see like Mario Addison have a big game because I feel like he's been a little quiet the last many games. So
okay,
Mario Addison.
I like that. Mario Addison, the old guy coming back. I like the old guys. I have something in common with them. I don't know what it is. Zach, what about you, man? Who's a Bills player you're like, this guy might have a big game today? Watch out for him.
I was going to say Ed Oliver was one that I had my eye on, mostly because like the last couple of games, it seems like there's been a player who maybe hasn't had the biggest profile this year. Gabriel Davis stepping up a couple weeks ago. Last week, Taryn Johnson having that big play. Ed Oliver could have a big play. I was also going to say Isaiah McKenzie because it is a potential revenge game, even though he did play Denver last year.
Ooh.
You never underestimate the power of a revenge game. But for this to not go with the receiving core or the defensive line for this game, I will say keep an eye on Tyler Bass. I know we kind of mentioned earlier with the elevation that the announcers will probably mention a million times today, but he could very well have that 60-plus yard field goal. And I kind of did a little side bet in the DMs with Adam that if he does have a 60-plus yard field goal, he's going to be my player profile this week. So I'm rooting for it.
That wasn't a side bet, Zach. I commanded you to do so as the chief editor, and you sassed me. We're gonna talk after this. I don't appreciate that. No, actually, you know who I'm gonna look for today, and I love all these takes. These are great options. Look out for AJ Epinesa. I think Epinesa has been really close. He's been doing a good job holding down the edge versus the run game. I think he's been a big contributor as to why the Bills have not been gashed so much the last number of weeks. And he's been really working. You see him use his hands pretty well. I think Epinesa is due for a good game, and I think if Locke is going to hold the ball a long time, watch Epinesa push those tackles right back into Locke's face. So he's the guy I want to watch out for. Also, one last thing, Singletary. And the reason is, look, if Denver doesn't have a great secondary, what do they have to do to cover that up? They got to blitz. Fangio is going to bring pressure from all over the place. As much as they need Simmons back there and stuff like that, they're going to be throwing pressure at Allen. And so watch for Dayball to dial up a lot of screen passes, a lot of outlet passes, a lot of wheel routes, to Singletary. He's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. And I'm telling you, if you guys don't watch Singletary block, the dude is transcendent. He stuns people as he's the best blocking back Buffalo has had since Fred Jackson, who used to ice defensive ends. Watch Singletary. This guy is fun to watch as a pass blocking back. All right, guys, let's talk about predictions for the game. Give me one statistical prediction. Can be from any position group player, anything. Can be a whole team statistic. And your game score, okay? Zach, I'm going to start with you, even though you sassed me. I forgive. I'm a forgiving man. I don't always forgive, you know. No, I want to hear what's the statistic that you predict, and what is your game prediction? Are the Bills going to win the AFC East today, Zach?
So I kind of already said this, but my statistical prediction that I'm going to go with is Tyler Bass gets a 60-plus yard field goal, probably at the end of the first half, like 3 seconds left, something like that. And then I will say that the Bills will win the division. They will win the game 27-17.
27-17. All right. Very nice. And before you go with that one, Richard's been busy today. Zach, what do you think? How many sacks will Buffalo have today?
Well, I would say that if Ed Oliver, I would think he'll get at least 1 sack today. Jerry Hughes could have the potential to get a sack. Mm-hmm. Let's remember the pass rush specialist, A.J. Klein, because Milano's not fully back yet, so he could potentially – I would say if I were to make a $1 bet on this, I would say they have between 3 and 5 sacks today.
All right, Jeremy, tell us a statistical prediction or basically a game prediction and your final scores. What do you think?
I'm going to say Josh Allen goes for over 300 passing yards today. Woo! And I'm going to say score-wise, 28-10.
28-10.
Buffalo, yep.
All right. Thank you for clarifying. Now, guys, remember, Stephon Diggs is 1 catch away from breaking the all-time receptions mark in Buffalo. And he's, 200 yards away? Something like that, not even? Right around there.
Like
Josh Allen, 201. Okay. And Josh Allen, he's not too far removed from breaking the all-time passer stats in Buffalo, beating Jim Kelly. So these are big. In fact, I believe if he has a really big game, if he had like a 400-yard game, I believe he would have the most yards in Bills history. Don't quote me on that, but it's close. Mitch, let's hear your statistical prediction and your game prediction.
All right, so my stats a little different, but hear me out on this one. So I saw today, I think Sal Capaccio tweeted this, where the Bills have had 12 different players catch a touchdown pass this season, and the NFL record is 13. My prediction is that the Bills will tie that record today. Someone else is going to get a touchdown today that we might not expect. The most likely one I've seen is Singletary, but maybe Ryan Bates gets a touchdown today, maybe a lineman, maybe you never know. So I think that might happen today. And then my final score for this one is I think I'm taking Buffalo 27-6. Actually, I think that I think this Denver offense is not going to have a fun day against that Bills defense. So I'm going to go with a little bit of a blowout.
Man, Mitch is dropping bombs over here. I love these predictions. Somebody had one that I think was pretty good in the let's see if I can find it. Comments. Genesis says, hot take, Buffalo is such a big lead. Jake Fromm. That would have to be a big lead because they'd have to, call him up out of quarantine and stuff. That's how big the lead would have to be. But I like it. Man, Mitch, you guys all have pretty big wins. I think that's pretty interesting. This is a fun one. Maho says, I don't know how she found me on here. How many stiff arms will Josh Allen throw today? Kidding, he needs to slide. That's right, Josh. We need a healthy Josh. I'm knocking on wood right now. Josh, stay healthy. That's the biggest thing that we need. Guys, I also, I'm pretty pessimistic on the Bills, but I'm also going to take the Bills in this one. And I agree with Mitch. I think they're going to win big. I think it's going to be something like 27-10, 27-6, somewhere in that. I just think it's going to be an amazing game. I think we might see our first 100-yard rusher today, just for fun. All right, guys. We got a few minutes left real quick. I want you to introduce us to – say again? Jeremy? I think we got a frozen Jeremy. All right. Well, Jeremy, when you come back, Jeremy, you good? Oh, all right. Anyway. I want you to introduce yourself to the fan base. What you do for the
you're
Buffalo.
Breaking me. Am I better?
I think you're kind of breaking up there, Jeremy.
Am I back? Hello.
Kind of. Well, Mitch, why don't you tell us about what you do for the Buffalo Fanatics?
Yeah, so I write the Thursday Thought column, which comes out every Thursday at 1 p.m. And I kind of just write a discussion-based piece just to get people talking in the the comments, talking on Twitter, and basically like tell me what you guys think. Sometimes my takes are hot, sometimes they're not. If you agree with me, disagree with me, let me know. I love the dialogue. That's what it's all about. And read that. I'd much appreciate any reads you guys click on. It'd be great. And feel free to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is below there in the bottom corner at Mitchell_Broder. I'd appreciate that as well. And that's about all I could say for myself.
Mitch, he's always bringing great takes. Jeremy, what do you contribute to the Buffalo Fanatics?
Am I back? Am I good now?
You are good. Yep.
Okay. I was actually trying to say something really quick. We're talking about Diggs and how close he is to breaking records. I'd also like to throw Beasley's name out there. He's pretty close to his first 1,000-yard season. I don't know if he'll get it today, but he is close as well. But yeah, I am here because I've been writing some satire / parody pieces the last few weeks. So that's been fun. Check those out. And I also, on Saturdays, co-host the Buffalo Bootleg with Max. You can find him at Cinco de Maxo, who does the outrageous reports. We every Saturday, but we will not be doing it today because the game is on when we usually do it. And Rico usually does his post-game response. So we're going to take the week off, and we'll be back next week.
All right. Zach, real quick, tell us about what you do for the Buffalo Fanatics.
So every week I do a profile of the player that I feel is like stood out in that game. I call them the 2020 vision profiles, partly because the year is 2020, also because sometimes I do compare them to past Bills greats. I do a lot of different types of profiles for them. So hindsight's always 2020. And I also do some other fun pieces on the side too. Like I did a quarterback succession plan earlier in the season. Some may say it was ahead of its time, given what the Broncos had to deal with a few weeks ago. It may need to be updated as well. But I also did a mid-season awards article. I will do an end-of-season awards article when the time comes. And also, like I said at the beginning of the program, that my next article is going to be about the new holiday called Billsmas, so stay tuned for that. And you can also follow me on Twitter at zvon2712 for daily football, Bills, and other stuff takes.
All right, guys. And, make sure you're checking out all the Buffalo Fanatics media outlets, whether it's video, podcasts. I have a podcast called the NFL Basement, comes out on Thursdays, and we make NFL game picks. I do it with a Lions fan, so he gives some perspective on the Bills, and we talk about the league as a Bills fan and a Lions fan. It's a lot of fun. Check that out. I also do the post-game write-up and occasionally do the Drunken Buffalo Bills mailbag, which makes about 5 people giggle, but it makes me giggle, so that's all that matters. Thank you all for watching. Guys, be safe today. Really enjoy that Bills-Broncos game. We are going to win the division today, and that's going to be huge. No riots, please. Let's keep it peaceful. But let's have a great day. And we're going to toss it to stay tuned because we got a round table for the Buffalo Fanatics Tailgate. So check that out. Thank you so much for watching.
All right, welcome back into the BF Tailgate. Thank you to the Writers Room for tossing it to us. I am Jeff Landers, joined by Clay Troya in your upper right-hand corner, and that is Nap Nose Buffalo, Kyle Knapp down below. We're waiting on Max to get back in. He had some technical difficulties right before we came on again, so Max will be joining us here in just a few minutes. Hit that like button, share it. We just had 130 people in the room as the Writers took off. Let's get up to 200 before the end of the hour. Guys, first of all, Clay, love the headband. That better be a Dawson Knox jersey to go with the headband. What do you got on?
I'm not even sure. It's got some part of a number over here, but to be honest, I don't really know whose number it is or anything like that. It's just something I found at Tops. So,
can you curl your hair like Dawson Knox to rep it?
I might have to go get a perm to make the look complete.
That's something that Kyle Knapp would look good with. Knapp, viral video this week, you roller skating down the highway in your hometown of Columbus, if we all saw that.
Yeah, look, I've had some extra free time with being on some paid time off for the rest of the year. So maybe it was me, maybe it wasn't. I guess I'll never say.
All right, looks like we got Cinco de Maxo. Max, welcome back in. First time I've had you on my portion of the BF Tailgate. So let's just get to know each other a little bit. Max, tell me about yourself.
Well, hi, great to be here, Jeff. So I do, for the Buffalo Fanatics, I write the Outrageous Predictions column once a week. This week, I actually decided not to do that. Instead, I wrote a tribute to cyberbullying Nick Wright. On Twitter, but Bills Mafia really got after Nick Wright because, he's just a clown and an idiot, and he deserves all the hate he's getting from Bills Mafia. And then I also, for the vidcasts on Buffalo Fanatics, I co-host the Buffalo Bootleg with Jeremy. And so we do that every Saturday at 6. This Saturday, obviously, it's different because the Bills are playing on a Saturday for God knows what reason.
Do a joke, boy. Is that Pierre or Judge or Rico? Who's tweeting that? Tell us a joke.
I wish I knew.
I'm messing with you. Oh, it's Judge. Never mind. Don't reward Judge for his poor behavior.
No. Joke.
All right, guys. Yeah. So we are playing on a Saturday. The NFL has put us in our own window once again. You could call it prime time if you want. To me, they're synonymous with being on by yourself, even though it's going to be 4:30 on a Saturday. This is a big stage for the Buffalo Bills because we can party like it's 1995, Clay. How do the Bills make that happen?
It should be pretty easy, honestly. I mean, going into this game, I haven't been too worried about this game the whole week, and I understand that it's a little bit of a trap game. We know that the Broncos can move the ball a little bit. They have a very well-coached defense, but they're playing against 3 backup cornerbacks today, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to stand out is 3 backup corners. So every one of their cornerbacks that's on the field at any given time is a backup. So I think, against a wide receiving core that's so strong like the Bills is, I don't think there's going to be any problem really today. I think you just got to let your guys get open against those weak corners there. I think that's going to be how they get it done today.
All right, Knapp. We want to party like it's 1995 today. You said on your podcast the Bills can force how many turnovers going on to the other side of the ball? 3 or more.
I mean, if they can just get some pressure on Locke, then they can just have a day defensively. Like he can be so erratic that like if you make him uncomfortable, they'll be fine. And just them as an offense, they have a lot of turnovers, 29 on the year already. They lead the league. They're the worst team in the league in their turnover differential. So they can really have a day defensively if they can just get a little bit of pressure and make Locke uncomfortable. So I got 3+ this week.
All right, guys, in the comment section, use hashtag party like it's 1995. Get into the super chat. Max, were you even alive in 1995?
I was not actually. No.
Am I the only one here that was?
I was.
Okay.
Year 1, right there. First year.
Clay?
I was
no.
-5.
Nope.
No.
I was not around. No, I'm the same age as Josh Allen. So.
Okay, Max, how do we make it party like it's 1995?
We make Drew Lock make dumb decisions because this Drew Lock guy, he's not a franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos. There was a hilarious quote he had, I believe it was like mid-season or something. Like half the time he's like, half the time I let go of the ball, I'm like, oh no, Like, that's a bad decision. So when you have a quote like that as a quarterback, like, this guy's just not good. He on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs, he looked terrible. And this is a game where, I hope, it's the Denver Broncos. It'd be a classic scenario where we play down to our level of competition. I don't want that to happen. I want our defense to get after Drew Lock. And I think I'm really excited to watch the defense play because the defense is trending in the right direction, and let's have that continue. So I think the defense should have a big day today.
Yeah, Leslie Frazier talked about it. I think it was early this week about having to be patient to wait for that defensive potential to show up, because without the preseason that we normally have this year, it was a work in progress in the regular season for that Buffalo Bills defense to come in. And I talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago going into San Francisco, that we needed the defensive momentum to catch up. And I think over the last 2 weeks, it really has finally picked up, and the Bills know what they need to get done on defense. They're finally starting to gel. They're playing together as a unit, and you see the turnovers are now starting to come our way. Taryn Johnson with the pick six, the first defensive score we've had since 2017. Great opportunity for the Bills to go into Denver today here against not a very good offense and get some things done. So, Clay, it was 4 or 5 weeks ago was Masters Week, right? When we went down to Arizona. Nap's a big golf fan. You guys were on with me. What did I say the day of the Sunday final round of the Masters? The Bills were making the turn. They were rounding Amen Corner. Here we are. We're approaching the 18th hole. All we have to do is not triple bogey the 18th, and the Bills will have an AFC East green jacket. So we've talked a little bit big picture about how we get that done today to get that AFC East division title. What's it going to take psychologically, I think, Clay, just to maybe not make mistakes?
Well, I think that's exactly what the culture of this team is set up to be is, any game, it's just the next week, it's the next game. You go into it with the same mentality, and that's the culture that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have built there. It doesn't matter who you're playing, it doesn't matter when you're playing. The team that you're going up against, that's who you focus on, and you want to come out with a W each week. I really think that this team is set up to not fall into trap games as much as any other team would, because they don't take any teams lightly. They know exactly what they're going to go against, and Vic Fangio is a very good defensive coach, and so I know that they're probably going to come up with an offensive game plan that's going to have to be quite sophisticated. But I think this team is built to stay calm, cool, and collected, and I think they're going to be able to go in and do what they do pretty easily this week. You're still muted, Jeff.
Sorry, I had to cough there. Thank you. And then totally forgot to unmute myself. One of the fill in the blanks that I have here, talking about the psychological aspect. If Phil Jackson is the Zen master of Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers fame, Sean McDermott is becoming blank as a head coach. Nap, you got an answer for this one? Fill in the blank.
Really put me on the spot there.
If you're in the comment section, go ahead and fill in the blank with us as well. We love to get your comments on the stream here. If Phil Jackson is the Zen master, Sean McDermott is becoming blank.
Yeah, I mean, you did not make this one easy. Jeez.
No, jump in, guys. If you got something, Clay.
It's a tough one. Right off the back, comparing Sean McDermott, Phil Jackson. I mean, listen, I love Sean McDermott, but wow, you're putting him in some high class there.
I didn't
might be a little stretch right now.
I didn't say he reached that level. I said he's becoming that level. And I think, the clap master, it's funny, but we don't really want that to get around the league, Clay. So, maybe we'll go with something else, but I think he's becoming.
How about the general?
He's just.
He
I
runs.
like that.
Sorry, so I'm just going to boot it. Show myself in here. I think the general. I think he runs a tight ship. I think he's a very disciplined coach. I think whereas Phil Jackson was he's all about the Zen and the meditation and stuff like that. I think like the general would be good for McDermott.
All right, we got a comment coming in here. Dana Hare says the motivator. And I like it. And the reason why is because just down the road from me in Pocatello, Idaho, Urban Meyer came to recruit a defensive lineman. And as I was talking to the head coach of that high school team, he said, one thing that those guys all have in common, the Urban Meyers, the Jim Harbaughs, Brian Kellys, they're all elite level motivators. That's what they have. That's what they've built their reputation on. All of those big time coaches are elite level motivators. And I think we've seen that over the first 3 to 4 years now with Sean McDermott. So Nap, you got anything else for me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get creative with this, but it's just he's the steady leader. That's what he is. He's whatever we need him to be in the moment. He's whatever the Bills team needs him to be in the moment. He is that steady leader that whether things are going great, whether they're going a little rough at the moment, he's still going to stay the course and be that steady leader that you need to pull everybody back in, reel everybody back into kind of what reality is of the situation and say, don't look too far ahead. This is all we need to focus on just 1 week at a time and just be that steady leader for the Bills. And I mean, that's what he's been the whole time that he's been here. And it's gotten them to be the kind of team and have the kind of culture that they have. So I think that's a pretty fair one.
Now, Stephen Rudd wants us to talk about our running game coming into the cold weather, end of the season, and the playoffs. Look, I've said it for weeks now. I don't think our running game needs to be at that elite level. They just need to be the running game that keeps the defense honest. Similar, and I've used this analogy, it's similar to a pickoff move over at first base. You don't need to be that Andy Pettit elite level pickoff move in order to keep the runner honest. You just need to lob the ball over every once in a while to keep that runner honest from taking off for second base. That's what our Bills run game needs to be. It needs to be that running game that's going to keep the defenses honest, because if you can get 5, 6, 7 yards of carry, but you're not carrying it all that often, they're still going to have to account for those yards. Clay, what do you think about our running game coming into the final 3 games of the season?
Yeah, I think we're definitely starting to figure it out a little bit. We finally have an offensive line that I think they're willing to stick with now. They took out Brian Winters, they put in Ike Bucker, and then Mitch Morse is the center. Feliciano is one of the guards. He can play both sides. It doesn't matter. And we saw him play a little bit of both sides throughout the last few weeks, depending on, we faced TJ Watt last week. So we saw Feliciano on the other side sometimes. They're willing to do that. And I think really the solidification of the offensive line and who's going to be out there on the field is definitely going to help with the run game. But yeah, like you said, our run game doesn't have to be sensational. It just has to be functional. We don't really need to be able to, we don't have to rush for 100 yards a game. I don't think we have yet this season. I don't think we need to at any point, just because the effectiveness from our offense comes from the pass game. And so, that's why we haven't had a 100-yard rusher yet, is because we pass the ball efficiently. We run the ball so we can pass the ball.
I think that's a great assessment. And Max and Nap, this one's going to be for you, because on the opposite side, the Bills are going to have to be worrying about Denver's running game. Now, it's going to be a high of about 44 in Denver. The sun will come out later in the game. The Bills should probably be worrying more with their run defense, right? And Nap, we'll go with you first.
So I think that the Bills can actually get that kind of eliminated from the game early if they play well on offense, because the Broncos can't keep up with a high-powered Bills offense if the Bills offense just goes out and does really what they're supposed to be able to do to a secondary that's as decimated as the Broncos are. So I think the Bills' best way to stop the Broncos' running game is to just score points and score them early, because if the Broncos are at a deficit, they can't run the ball consistently and catch up to the Bills' offense. That in my opinion, that's just the best way to stop a really good running game, and that's the best way to get 2 of the better players on their offense sort of eliminated from the game, because they can still get involved in the passing game a little bit. But if you take away their ability to consistently run the ball by putting them at a deficit, you make their offense so one-dimensional, and then that allows the Bills' defense to kind of pin their ears back and go after Drew Lock. So I think, as much as I'm not an X's and O's guy, so I couldn't necessarily tell you specifically how to go about defensively stopping the running game, I think the best way to do it is just to score points early.
Well, if we get Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay both active, which we'll find out here in just a little while, I believe coming up at about 3 o'clock Eastern time, we'll have the inactives. Max, how do the Bills get that running game of Denver in check?
Yeah, Denver's got 2 great backs in Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. And, I think it all relies on our linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds, A.J. Klein, Matt Milano. Fill those gaps, stuff the running game. Defensive line has got to get good pressure. And we've seen that, over the last 3 weeks or so, our defense is coming into form, and I think we'll be able to stop that, that two-headed monster in Gordon and Lindsey. And as Knapp said, play our best defense is with our offense. Keep keeping the Broncos off the field. We've seen our offense sustain long drives. You talk about last week, they had a 7-minute drive against the Steelers to close the game. Zach Moss was absolutely carried that drive for the Bills. Maybe we can see more of that this week in some long sustaining drives, take the time off the clock and keep Denver's offense off the field.
That was a pretty fantastic drive because I didn't even realize it in the time. Holy cow, this game's over. It didn't feel over
incredible.
When Levi Wallace intercepted that ball. It was like, okay, let's go get some more points. And then all of a sudden, my friend Mr. Whiskey had me realizing there's less than a minute left. We're gonna win this game just like that. So a fantastic drive, and you're right on Zach Moss, which for me, Zach Moss kind of redeemed himself on that drive from having fumbled the week before against San Francisco on the goal line, giving the ball right over to the 49ers. So great redemption drive for Zach Moss. And I think that really shows Sean McDermott's kind of double-edged sword psychological weapon that he has created with this franchise. He will get into the mind and just absolutely make it focused. And I think you're seeing through those two situations, the fumble on the goal line with Zach Moss, and then letting him redeem himself the following week with that type of drive. That's the type of psychological work that Sean McDermott will do. Okay, you got your punishment. Now go earn it. Go back on the field and earn it. Big picture, guys. 3 games left. At Denver, at New England next Monday night, 12/28, and then January 3rd against Miami. Going back to last year, the Bills had a chance to clinch, but they could have done it sooner. And then they kind of stumbled down the stretch and then did it on Sunday night in Pittsburgh. They didn't have a great record in that final 4 or 5 games. We're riding a 3-game win streak. What would a win now in this environment win? And I'm going to start with you, Max, thinking about the juxtaposition of 2019, stumbling down the stretch, stumbling into the playoffs. Now you're riding a 3-game win streak with 3 winnable games to go.
Yeah, and you're riding a 3-game winning streak coming off a win over the formerly the AFC's top seed. So this is completely different from last year in the sense of, last year we had an easy schedule to start. And then we kind of gotten towards that latter half, after we beat the Cowboys, and then we had to face like the Ravens. And we're like, oh boy, we're probably not going to be capable of beating the Ravens. Whereas this year we've gotten those tough opponents out of the way. And now we got Denver and Miami and New England, and not to, those 3 teams are still all capable of beating us for sure. But the way this team is rounding into form, I think there's a good chance we can, go 13-3, take care of business. I predicted the Bills to go 13-3 in the preseason. So for my pride, I'm really hoping we can do that, get that done. Just win these 3 games, and then the seeding for the playoffs. If we go 13-3, I don't see us being any lower than a 2 seed in the playoffs.
Clay, riding momentum into the playoffs is going to be huge. So I said it in previous weeks with the 49ers and Pittsburgh that these 2 games, you won a big game against the 49ers. You get rewarded with an even bigger game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a kind of a mini playoff run. Don't let it down now, right? That's all you have to do is don't let down. Keep your foot on the pedal.
Yeah, and it's a different team than last year as well. I know we're kind of talking about how, when we compare last year to this year, last year Josh Allen was not quite there. He wasn't a complete passer, couldn't hit every ball. The offense was still lagging a little bit behind, as far as creating, getting yards, really. We hadn't even seen Josh Allen get a 300-yard game at that point. So it's a different team than it was last year, and I think they are more complete now. The defense has now caught up with the offense this season. I really just think that going in, it should be a pretty easy run. Even if you lose one game, I think this would be the week to do it. You're against a very well-coached Broncos defense in Vic Fangio. If there's anything left on that Bills offense that can be exploited, Vic Fangio is going to find it, and then the Bills know that that can be exploited, and they can solve that before they get to the playoffs. So I think if anything, a loss today would not be terrible. It would still be, it could still be a positive thing if you take what, if you learn from that loss and see, what's left, if there's anything left to even exploit at this point, because we've seen them do a little bit of everything. Vic Fangio will be able to find it, and then hopefully they can solve that before they go into the playoffs. I think no matter what, they're going to be able to go in with enough momentum and enough confidence to be able to win against anybody.
You bring up a great point because Vic Fangio is a great defensive mind, but who do we have next week? Probably the best mind of all time. So you might want to be hyper aware of leaving any weaknesses on film, because if Vic Fangio can find it, guess who's going to find it? That's going to be Bill Belichick next week, Monday Night Football. Nap, 3 games. How do we not triple bogey going out the stretch here?
You don't play to not make mistakes. So like that, I think what you said kind of early in our portion of the show was mentioning like you don't want to go down the stretch and make a bogey. I think that kind of mindset is the exact way that you do slip up. That kind of mindset is the exact way that teams find themselves in those trap game situations, because they're like, well, we just want to get out of here without making those mistakes. And the type of mindset that wins games, that wins championships eventually in the long run, is the mindset of, well, let's just go out there and win. We're going to go out there and play our game, and we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to make plays. So I think that's actually the way to go about it down the stretch. Is why would you want to go out to a really a well-coached team in New England next week and have that mindset of, well, let's not make mistakes? And why would you want to have this game where you're going up against a defense that has a good defensive mind like Fangio? And why would you want to have that mindset of, let's not make mistakes? You go out there and you just say, hey, look, our players are better than your players. We have the talent to do whatever we want to do to you pretty much. And we're just going to go out and we're going to beat you up pretty much, because that's what this Bills team can do. And if they just go out and they're aggressive, they're going to be fine down the stretch.
Sounds like you've eagled some par 5s before, talking like that.
Maybe a couple.
All right. Earlier this week, guys, hit that like button, share it. We're at 149 viewers right now. Let's get up to 200 before the end of the hour. And get in the super chat as well. We don't have a bell like our man Rico, but we can play the train horn if you want to get in the super chat. Earlier this week, our man, your favorite person, Colin Coward, put the Bills at number 1 on his list. Now, that caused quite the stir among Bills fans, whether they agreed with him, whether they didn't agree with him, whether they cared, whether they didn't care. But he did say one thing. He said the Bills are playing great situational football. And that's probably the smartest thing he's ever said about the Bills. So what is the situational awareness as we kind of transition just a little bit out of what we were just talking about, not playing to make mistakes, but that situational football? Nap, what is that situational football that the Bills need to play?
It's when the time comes to be aggressive, you take your shots. And when situationally you have an opportunity to make the play, you don't let that play slip past you. And recently, the past couple of weeks, that's what the Bills have been doing. They had the opportunity for the pick 6. Taryn Johnson was able to take advantage of that and score. And then in the second half, the Bills realized, well, we have a guy who can't be guarded by the defense in Stephon Diggs, and they just took advantage of that time and time again. So I think that's the type of situational awareness, situational play where when you have a guy who's hot, you ride the hot hand, and when the defense has an opportunity to make the play, they make that play. So I think that's kind of that situational awareness where as long as you're able to make those plays when the time comes, you'll be fine.
A guy that loves his situational awareness, Andre Roberts on kickoff and punt returns as well. I don't get the Bills fans who say we need to be cutting Andre Roberts. And Max, situational awareness for Andre Roberts. Let's run it out every single time. He could have a big day, couldn't he?
Oh, yeah. Anytime he touches the ball, like I don't think there's a kick returner, punt returner in the league that you feel like he could, like, every time he touches the ball, he could take it out to midfield every time he touches it. He's just so smart. I think that what makes him different than a lot of returners out there is that you see a lot of returners go sideline to sideline, try to make guys miss. He doesn't really do that. He just sticks his foot in the ground and goes upfield. He'll make a cut upfield, but he doesn't waste any time trying to shimmy a guy like as soon as he catches the ball. And I think he's our sneaky like most valuable player. Like obviously he's not the most valuable player on the team, but like he's a sneaky guy that we don't appreciate as much as we should.
Clay, Stephen Rudd with the comment. Hey, my comment's finally updated, and now as I'm going to read the comment, it disappeared when
Oh my!
Yeah, there's a lot that just.
I was just
showed
going
up
to say
there.
we haven't been getting any of these comments the whole time.
No, I haven't, and I wanted to get Stephen
Wow.
Rudd's comment. I can't find it now, but it was essentially on John Brown and his absence affecting the offense, which we haven't really seen over the last 2 weeks. John Brown's absence has not been a greatly big deal for the Buffalo Bills, but situational football, him being out, give him extra rest. Let him come back the final 2 games, get his legs under him before the playoffs start. Gabe Davis can step in and play some situational football, right?
Yeah, absolutely. John Brown, him being out, it was a problem earlier in the season, but they found ways around it. Gabe Davis is a very capable number 2 wide receiver. And that way, you can have Diggs on one side, Gabe on the other side, and then you got Beasley in the slot. That's a great, 1-2-3 combo right there. We're just lucky enough that we have another guy who can be a number 1 wide receiver in John Brown. So we really have a number 1, a number 2, and a slot guy. So, we've been able to adjust around that and play around that when John Brown's been out. But yeah, now that he's healthy, really everything's kind of coming together as we're coming into the playoffs. He's out this week. He's got, the sickle cell trait, so that's tough with the elevation. Whether or not that was the deciding factor of whether he's not playing, I'm fine with it either way. The Broncos are not a team where you need all of the firepower that you have, especially with the beat up secondary that we're going to be playing against today. So I think with him being out, that's not going to be too much of a problem. I'm kind of glad that he's going to be able to get another week to rest up and make sure that he's healthy, because he's been trying to play when he was a little bit banged up and he just kept on getting re-injured or re-aggravating something. So I'm glad that he's going to be able to come back fully healthy when we're starting to make a run for the playoffs now.
All right, now that our comment section has updated for us to see, I want to get through a few of these. The first one I love here is Sean, I'm going to pronounce your name wrong, Sean Galoti. I want to see Bass kick a 65-yard field goal today. There was a piece dropped on Twitter this morning, and now it was from The Athletic, and I don't remember which person, I think it was Fairburn, maybe wrote it about Bass's development coming out of Georgia Southern, and he's kicking 70-yard field goals like it's nothing. A 65-yarder would be good today, except for if he doesn't have to kick anything except for extra points would be great, right, guys?
I mean, that would be incredible.
Great contribution.
Is it easier to kick in the elevation? Will the ball travel further?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Sure. I mean, Josh was playing in a
Try
higher
that
elevation
for
in Wyoming too. So,
yeah.
that's probably why he was able to throw the ball 85 yards, which is what he said his furthest documented throw is, which is insane. So
83, right? With a
something like
Nike
83.
Vapor Max.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see any 80-yard passes, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. If we get out on the 20 on a touchback punt or something like that, why not just go 80 yards, send it to the end zone.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I did move out here from New York State, but now that I've been in the Mountain West for 10 years now, it's just common knowledge that Laramie is a much higher elevation than Denver is, and it is up there in the mountains. But it's really, for professional athletes, the elevation factor is going to be more of a psychological effect during the game. They'll feel it after the game because it's going to take just a little bit longer to recover. It shouldn't be too much of a big deal during the game. But yeah, I see a Broncos fan coming in the chat section. Everybody take a look at this guy coming in. Boo Bills. No, thank you.
Hey, frick that guy.
Yeah. All right, now we've lost. Oh, I got a note here on my board. I've been thinking about this all week long, And then yesterday I pop on Joe Marino in the Locked On Bills podcast. And he basically said everything that I was thinking about my man Dawson Knox. He's as raw as a tight end as you have coming into the league, and is very similar to Josh Allen, maybe even more raw as a tight end than Josh Allen was as a quarterback. So are you three, are you guys on the Dawson Knox hate train, or what are your thoughts on 88 at tight end, Nap?
I mean, we had a conversation about this a couple weeks back, right? Like I'm fully on board with give him time, and every single he's going to make mistakes, and obviously it sucks when it happens. Like it's terrible. Last week it felt like one of the worst things, and then you go on Twitter after the fumble and everybody's like, oh, get him out of the offense, cut him, he's terrible, he's the worst, why do we even have him on the team? And it's such an overreaction because he then came back and had a really good second half where he made a couple of big plays, and I believe it was even on the 3rd and 10 on the final drive, he had a catch that ended up getting a first down that allowed the drive to be extended. And he is a guy that he's so raw. He didn't get utilized really as a tight end in college, and he's still learning, and it's frustrating when the mistakes happen. But you got to kind of take that. If you want to have a guy actually progress, you have to let him make those mistakes in order to let him learn from them and get better and better. And having a guy where he has the potential athletically that Dawson Knox has, I'm okay with him being out there. I want to see him out there to give him a chance to make plays, because I think more often than not, he's going to make the right play. And I think we've actually seen that more often than not, he does make the right play. It just, you feel it more when it's not the right play.
And here's a great point that just came in. If you trust in our coaches, then you shouldn't be afraid of raw players. Thanks, Jack Stefanowski. Max, do you agree? I think this coaching staff has shown a propensity to develop players, and all this hate on Dawson Knox really should not be there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the key year for Dawson Knox is going to be year 3, I think. And it is about his development. And he's a raw player, as Knapp has said. He's very raw. And it's frustrating, especially when we're in this kind of like Super Bowl window, to see, have a guy out there that's just developing as a player. But, we have to be patient with him. We've seen he has the talent. He has the huge play talent. Whether it's that catching that ball last year against New England over the shoulder, or the stiff arm against the Bengals last year, he's got the upside. We know he has the upside. And I know this year we've seen more bad than good. But I think, there's a lot to be said this year in terms of it's a COVID year. He's had COVID issues. He's had injury issues. He had a concussion. There's a lot that hasn't gone his way this year. And I think Bills Mafia needs to calm down, and I think we need to pump the brakes on this Knox hate. And if the same thing's happening next year in year 3, I think we can get on him a little bit and say, hey, what are you doing, coaching staff? Like, this guy maybe doesn't deserve to be on the field as much, but I'm holding out faith for him. He's a talented player. And I think he has too much upside to say, oh, we're going to cut him.
All right, Clay, before I get to, before I got 2 things for you. First one, I'm going to get into this conversation with Dawson Knox is going to be one of those types of players where Bills fans have to get used to the development side of our players, because as this roster progresses with what we want to do, the example is going to be Matt Milano might be the first casualty that got developed but then couldn't be re-signed. So the first piece of that is you have to develop the players, because you're going to have big money wrapped up in your Josh Allen's coming up. So you're going to have to develop them. But then we're not always going to be able to keep the players that we do develop. Matt Milano will be the first, I think, casualty of that type of system that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are having. So we're seeing the development with Dawson Knox there, right?
Yes, he's still in his developmental stages. People forget he had a very limited role in college football, so he was not the kind of guy that was getting a bunch of targets or anything like that. He didn't even score a touchdown in his entire college career. So, he still has so much to learn about being confident in catching the football and running with the football. And him, like Max mentioned, with the injuries and things going wrong with COVID, the inconsistency of being on the field it does affect the player when it's, you kind of get out of a rhythm, and then, maybe you don't have that same momentum that you had. And every time you come back, you have to rebuild that momentum again. But then again, Max mentioned we're in our Super Bowl window and we have a guy that's developing like Knox. I think our Super Bowl window is more than just 1 year. I think with the Josh Allen still being on his rookie deal, we've got Deion Dawkins and Tre'Davious White signed. Tremaine Edmonds, he's also still on his rookie deal. We have a lot of key pieces still on this team that are either under contract for a few more years or, are still on their rookie deals, which allows, to bring in more players if need be. I think our window is going to last for at least a couple more years. And then after that, we can reevaluate. But I really think that he still has the time to develop through these years where we can be in contention for the Super Bowl and say, next year, the third year is usually where it's make or break. If you don't make it by that third year, it's time to figure something out. And I think he might be able to make that jump as long as he can stay healthy through the next season.
All right, that is a great point and a great point here. We are brought to you by Manscaped here on the BF Tailgate. And Clay, I'm putting you on the spot with this one. We need the Manscaped read, too legendary to be ignored. So, Clay, give us the Manscaped.
All right. Well, Joe's going to be mad because I was saving this for the Hump Day hotline, but I do have one ready to go. This one's a little Christmas based as we come into the holiday season here. When you look in your pants and your balls are all fluffy, with a girl you've no chance if you want to get lucky. With the hair on your balls or your shaft or your taint, when a woman sees all, she is certain to faint. And on top of all that, you are still not quite safe, since there's nothing that's worse than when your privates chafe. And besides all the hair on your jingling bells, when your crops hit the air, do they propagate smells? If the answer is yes and the statements are true, then boy, do I have a great deal for you. For at manscaped.com, there are many solutions for the ridding of hair or your body's pollutions. For the chafing and smells, they have lotions and briefs, and the lawnmower too for your overgrown wreath. So go visit the site, use Fanatics to save, and your partner's delight will bring happier days.
Bravo.
Oh, yeah. That was incredible.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
I was going to, because we were.
I'd love to have people that have never tuned into this show before and just tuned in during the middle of that, and they're like, "What is going on here?"
Hey, our viewership went up by like 25 people.
Hombre lob. WTF is this, LMA?
He must have just joined.
Yeah, our viewership definitely jumped by about 20, 30 people during that, Clay. So good job. And what I was going to say is, we're trying to party like it's 1995 around here. So I actually went back to 9-year-old me and got some Slim Jims today. So because I was rocking these, and I was going to say, whoever can give me the best Ric Flair woo can go first on the helmets later on in the show. But Clay, I think you earned the right to go first with the helmet. So you'll have the best pick of the litter. That was fantastico. Now, Max, top it. Can you top it? What do you got for us?
Right. Well, how do I top that? I can't compete with that. I can't. No.
Just make a joke at Nick Wright's expense, and you'll be pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's true. Oh, we got Gruden version.
I'll send you the script right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. Sometimes your balls get pretty hairy down there, man. You gotta get some Manscaped, man. Pretty exciting stuff. I don't know.
And knock if you're with me.
Did you see that the Raiders ran Spider 2 Y Banana in overtime and failed? They ran Spider 2 Y Banana the other night.
That was it.
On the goal line.
Yeah, right on the goal line. Yeah,
that was an insane
and they didn't
game.
get it in. Well, you know what? I was actually very thankful. We can talk a little fantasy too if you guys want. Because I'm going to bring this up. I had Justin Herbert, my only player playing Thursday night. My opponent in the semifinals had Darren Waller and Derek Carr, and I believe the Raiders defense. And she scored maybe like 35 points, and Herbert got me 32. So great for the Raiders there. Let's transition into a little bit of Bills fantasy, guys. Do you guys have anybody from this game on your team that you need to do really well for the playoffs, or you need to do really poorly for the playoffs? Max, are you facing anybody from this game?
So last week I lost. Last week I'll talk about last week because I was in a very tight matchup, and it came down to I needed Cole Beasley and Tyler Bass to have a huge Sunday night game, and Cole Beasley did decent. I think he had 10 points for me, but not good enough. I needed Cole Beasley to really light it up like he did against San Francisco, so he let me down, and I'm now out of the playoffs.
No consolation matches.
Well, there are, but I'm just, I was playing
care.
for first place. I don't care about consolation. What is this?
Clay, are you still in?
Oh, no, I'm out. When you were talking about playoffs, I felt like, there was a real popular soundbite that was popping into my head there because that's not something that I was a part of this year.
Nap, you're the fantasy guy for BF. Are you still in?
No, I lost last week. I'm in a similar situation as Max. I went up against I played. My opponent had Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry, Allen Robinson. My team never even stood a chance. I needed 85 points combined from Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis to win going into that game. So I never really even stood a chance in that matchup. Yeah,
so I'm in the semifinals. It's a friends and family league.
Brag.
Yeah, and well, no, I'm trying to stay humble about it because it's not a super duper competitive league. But my opponent also has Josh Allen, and because she went to the University of Wyoming. So if the Bills could win with Devin Singletary, who I have, maybe throw in a couple of touchdowns on trick plays to Stephon Diggs, that would be great. Maybe if Josh could hand the ball off 100 times, would be fantastic for fantasy reasons. But if he scored 50 points, I'd be okay with that as well. What else? So you guys are out of the fantasy. You guys don't even want to talk fantasy now.
We can talk fantasy, but it has nothing to do with me anymore because I'm out.
All right, give us your big fantasy topic for the week. Let's get into that.
Let's keep it Bills specific for this.
Sure.
I think it's literally any wide receiver can have a huge day this week because it doesn't matter who's out there. I think there's a possibility that there's two to three actual 12, 15 plus point fantasy days from the Bills wide receivers because the Broncos secondary is just that decimated right now. If you have any of the Bills wide receivers, you have to play them this week because just there's nobody that can cover them.
Yeah. Clay?
I was going to agree. I was going to say Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley. If you have either one of those guys, play them this week because I think Stephon Diggs might get the most targets we've seen this year from him, and he gets a lot of targets as it is. I think Stephon Diggs is poised to make easily an over 100-yard game again. I think he might get another touchdown. I could even see him getting to the 150 mark. I think he's really going to be able to have a field day today.
Max?
I'm going to take it away from the Bills because I played against Derrick Henry last week, and Derrick Henry is an absolute beast in the month of December. So if you have him, I think you're in very good shape to win your fantasy league. I think coming down the stretch, I think Derrick Henry's pushing for 2,000 yards on the season. So the Titans love to run the ball because it's freaking Derrick Henry. How are you gonna stop him? So yeah, Derrick Henry, biggest storyline to watch.
All right, it is 2:45 Eastern time. We got about 15 minutes left with the first portion of the roundtable with Clay Troya, Kyle Knapp, and Cinco de Maxo. Max, you're new to this, but before we get into game predictions and bold predictions and all of that, we got to do the helmet of death. Kyle and Clay, they know the drill. But Clay gets to go first, so you can kind of ease your way into this. And yes, I've taken a little bit of heat on Twitter over this is a Dan Le Batard segment, and I brought it in just because I wanted to play it. It's my favorite segment on the Dan Le Batard show, and it's like, oh man, I like Jeopardy. Why don't we sit down and play Jeopardy on family game night or something? I just wanted to play this with my friends, not trying to steal shit. I'm not trying to steal anything. Just want to play. Stop hating and have some fun. It's a way to bring in some other games on the week. All right. There, I said my piece. Now we got to get into Clay earned the first pick. Clay, you're sitting on top of the standings with a 5-2 record.
Ooh.
Since doing it. Your first Judge is also 5-2, but I put him in second just because it's Judge. I'm in third at 4-2.
Judge is always catching shots from you.
It's because he's an easy target. If he wouldn't be such an easy target, it wouldn't be so easy.
Oh, real quick, while we're on the topic of taking shots at Judge, how did the UB Bulls do, Judge? How did it feel after you took some shots at my school because they weren't in the championship game? That's what happens when you do that, Judge. Sorry.
Where'd you go, Clay?
Sorry,
Nap.
Yeah.
I went Ohio University, so another MAC team. So like, if you're gonna take shots, like you gotta finish the job, Judge.
Oh, we're not stopping the Judge hate. Never. Sorry, we will not. He is an easy target until he took it down. All right, Clay, you're first. You are first on the helmets this week. Miami Dolphins.
Ooh,
And the Dolphins have the Patriots in Miami, 1:00.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins just because I don't know. That second pick could be such a wild card. I'm going to take the Dolphins.
All right, Clay, rolling with the Dolphins at top. All right, so Max, you're new. I'll let you go second.
Yeah. So I'm picking a team that's gonna win.
Yeah, I'll pull a helmet. I'll pull a helmet. You pick out. You can either roll with that team if you think they're going to win, or you can put it back, and then you're locked in with your second pick. No matter what happens, the second helmet to come out, you're locked in.
Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. I like this.
Yeah, don't give me the credit.
Shout out Dan Lebitard.
Your first pick coming up, KC Chiefs. And the Chiefs
I'll take the Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs.
They're in
I don't
New
care
Orleans.
who they have. Oh, they got the Saints. That's going to be tough.
They're in
Greece
New
is back.
Orleans.
I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Well, the over-under on that game is 52, and KC is favored by 3. So Max has let us know that he's in with the Chiefs.
Breeze, that's one rib, yeah.
Saw
Kansas
somebody
City.
today on Twitter call him the McRib. So
The McRib.
yeah,
Breeze with 1 rib. And actually, Taysom Hill is from the high school that I referenced earlier that Urban Meyer had come out to return. Highland High School in Pocatello, Idaho. So, all right. Nap, your turn. I dropped the New York Giants. They got the Cleveland Browns. It's in the Meadowlands. Cleveland 6.5-point favorites.
you know what? I hate this segment because I always get put in these tough spots.
You are in last place because you're 1-5, and the Dolphins lost last week.
It's literally because every single pick that I've had, it's been one of those games where it could go either way. So I'm like, you know what? Put it back. I'm going to trust my fate, and my fate just hasn't done me well.
Well,
But
I
I'm gonna
mean,
stick
maybe
with
the
it.
Giants will pull a Lamar and drop the Cleveland Browns off at Lake Erie.
I don't trust them. I can't do it.
They're in the thick of a playoff race.
I know they are, but is it that weird for me to say that I trust the Browns more than the Giants at this point? Because I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Lake Erie love, but you're also there in Ohio, so you're probably a little biased toward it. All right, going back in. You're locked in with this pick.
Please be the Jets.
Oh my! See
The Bengals against the Steelers. Monday Night Football in
whatever.
Cincinnati.
I'll take my bad luck on these helmet picks if I get good luck elsewhere.
You getting lucky lately, Nap? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Don't
must be
answer that.
manscaping.
All right, I'll save my pick for later in the show when Judge and those guys are on. Let's go bold predictions. Max, we want to start with a bold prediction for this game?
Bold prediction. Let's see. I think Josh Allen throws for 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns throwing.
You know what? That is borderline bold. I would say it was bold maybe if it were earlier in the season, but he has the capability of doing it now.
Yeah, you're right. How about no? That's bold enough. 4 touchdowns throwing, not any rushing. So all 4 are throwing. I think that's bold enough.
Okay. Okay.
It's not like that's happened every single week. Like that's been what, 2 or I think maybe 3 times this year that he's done that. So I think that fits into the bold category.
Nap, since you're on, give us your bold prediction.
I have 2 wide receivers or two Bills players, because who knows? It could be a tight end, maybe a running back gets in this, but it's definitely unlikely in that scenario. But I got 2 Bills players going over 100 yards receiving and 3 or more Bills players catching a touchdown pass.
Okay, I like it. The writers' room was saying something about we have 12 different receivers who have caught a pass for a touchdown, and I think the record is 13. Is that what I heard the writers saying? So,
can I throw one more in there? I actually put this out on Twitter. This wasn't on the podcast or anything, so this was something I just put out today. Deion Dawkins is one of those that catches a touchdown.
Oh yeah, we haven't had the Dawkins touchdown yet this year.
I predicted it earlier in the year. It almost happened with a lineman. I think this is the week it happens.
All right, Clay, give us your bold prediction.
Well, Knapp stole mine. I was going to say 2 receivers over 100 yards. I mean, the corners are beat up. Ryan Bates also could have a touchdown. He's the guy that they've been trying to get the ball to in the red zone there. But I'll say Josh throws for 5 touchdowns. I'll one-up Max because I think I like this beat-up secondary. He's never had 5 before, and it's a tough number to eclipse. I think he'll have 5 total. I think he'll have 4 passing, 1 rushing.
Max, are you going to stand for that?
Josh Allen throws for 6 touchdowns.
Okay, I've got 6. Do I hear 7?
I'll take 7.
Do I hear 8? Who in the comment section will
Not
give
6,
me 8?
not 7,
Josh
not 8
Allen touchdowns. And once again, the comment section not up. Oh, Buffalo Fanatics coming in with the 69 touchdowns.
Nice.
Hey, if we could score 69 touchdowns, that would be very nice.
That would be nice.
All right, let's go in reverse order now. Give me your game predictions, Clay.
I'm going to go, I've been kind of saying it all week. I think it's going to be something like low 30s to, maybe low 20s. I don't think the Broncos, they'll be able to put a couple drives together, score a few times, but I really think the score is probably going to be something around 31-21. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think the Bills are going to easily win by double digits. This is the kind of statement game where if the Bills are who everyone is saying they are, they should go in and sweep this game away.
All right, so you said 31-21 win by double digits. So you're taking the over at 49, and Buffalo's 5-point favorites currently listed according to ESPN. Nap, what do you think? Over and Buffalo as 5-point favorites.
So, I think Bills cover the 5-point favorites. They should easily, as long as they go in and play their own game. The Broncos, I'm going to say literally the same exact thing that I said when I was on with the Bills guys. The Broncos they've led up 30-plus points 5 times this year, and they've scored less than 20 points 7 times this year. So they're not a team that scores a lot of points, and they've definitely, even as much as their defense is looked at as they have a good defense, they really actually don't. They're average on defense, and the Bills can take advantage of that. I got the Bills winning 31-17, a nice 14-point victory.
So you're taking the under. 31-17 would be under at the 49.
Yeah, I don't like Denver's offense to be able to score enough to hit the over.
All right, that's Nap's game prediction. Give me a game prediction, Max.
All right, well, everyone's waiting for a blowout game. We're trending in the right direction. Everything's pointing towards us. I say that we finally get a nice statement blowout out of the way. I think it's going to be 31-12. I don't think this Denver Bronco offense is going to do that much at all.
31-12.
And that'll be the under.
31-12, that'll be the under, and with the Bills covering. And you know what, guys? We really haven't had the blowout victory. I mean,
the 49ers game was 34. Think about it. It was 34-17 with a minute left, and they got that last minute touchdown. That was a blowout victory.
But I would have rather done that with Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle, and Joey Bosa on the field, because without those 3 guys on the field, it just didn't feel like it was as close. I know you're saying it's a blowout. Those guys should have been on the field, and I think that would have felt like a blowout at that point. Does that make sense?
I'll give you 2 of those 3 guys. A hot take: Jimmy Garoppolo is not their best quarterback.
Okay. Will this be our first blowout win? Yes or no? Our first big major defense shut it down offense, run all over the place, air it out, blowout win. Clay?
I think yes. Now's the time. If there's anyone to do it against, it's this team. Beat up secondary, quarterback that can throw some errant passes and be a little loose with the football. Now's the time.
Max, is it?
Yeah, I just said 31-12. Let's do it.
All right. We got 3 more minutes before we bring on the Bills guys and one other person joining us. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but any last thoughts, guys? Max, I'll start with you. And Judge putting himself up there. Comments not coming through on our end, so we'll do our best to verbally shout out today. Judge has the YouTube feed on his phone. So, whatever's up with our system, just not updating as quickly. They'll come in on a flood at once, as what happened to us earlier. So, any final thoughts before we guys let you go? Feel free to jump in there, guys. Feel free.
Okay, so I think my main thought on this is the Bills are like by far the better team. You could pretty much go position group by position group, and they are going to be the better team. And if you're looking at who they match up against, they're going to be the better team. So as much as the Bills can't overlook this game, like you can't go in with the mindset of like we're just going to blow them out. But they still have to go in, like, just play your own game. Play Buffalo Bills football. Know that you're better, and then play like you're better, and they'll be fine. Don't overlook anybody, but that doesn't mean you can't go in confidently.
I'm going to give one out there. Final thought. Bills by $1 billion because Clay's got the headband on.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of fans have been kind of saying, for my final thoughts, a lot of fans have been saying, they're worried about this game and, everyone's, acting super confident. And there are a lot of people, out there on Twitter saying, why is everyone so confident? We haven't won this game yet. Everyone's so confident because it's a different team. I know that we haven't been good for 20 years. It's a different team now. The culture has changed. We have a great coaching staff. We have all the players on this roster to be a successful team. That's why we're so confident. It's because this is a different team than what we've seen over the past 20 years. This is a team where going into a game like this, we can't expect that they're going to win. They're going to go in there, get the job done, and they're going to clinch the division today. And that's just the way that it's going to be. And I think that, we should be able to go into games with confidence throughout the next couple of years because this team is built different now.
All right, Max, give me your final thoughts.
I think Clay hits the nail on the head there. Bills fans aren't used to being confident and cocky and talking about their team like they're the best team in the AFC East. Well, guess what? We are now the best team in the AFC East. Start acting like it. Start walking around acting like we're the best because we're one of the best in the AFC East. And I know Bills fans are not used to that. And they're saying, oh, this could be a trap game or whatever. No, stop that. Stop that. We're awesome. We're incredible. We beat the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Start walking around with a little swagger. And because that's who we are. We're the new Bills. No longer are we the same old Bills. We have McDermott. We have Josh Allen. We're awesome. So start being cocky.
All right, it is exactly 3:00 on the East Coast. Thank you to Clay, Kyle, and Max. Don't go away. We've got over 200 people viewing right now. We're bringing in the Bills guys for the next hour leading up to kickoff. Guys, thank you very much. And can I get an A?
Hey.
All right,
There we
Buffalo.
go.
Now we've all recovered from melting down the Steelers on Sunday night. We're 10-3 for the first time since '91, about to win the AFC East, and heading down to Denver to take the Broncos to the glue factory. I'm sure JA-17 is going to keep up his MVP caliber season and keep proving his doubters wrong, while Diggs drops franchise records faster than the Broncos drop players. And after Drew's comments this week, Trey's going to lock his eyes on their QB1. They may be mile high, but they're not on our level. We need to stay humble and hungry, keep playing championship caliber football, and remember that even with a victory today, our journey has only begun. To my entire NFL family, Bills Mafia and beyond, I hope you all have a very safe and happy holiday season. And what a gift it would be for my Bills family to end the day AFC East champions. Whew, damn, that feels good to say. Buffalo head to toe.
Let's go.
Now this year we've seen him grow. We've seen the maturation process. He has grown into that leader. He has grown into that guy. Guys, this past week I have a radio show here locally in Richmond, Virginia. I'm on with a guy by the name of Wes McElroy, and we talked to one of the safeties for the Bills, Dean Marlowe. And Dean talked about at practice how Josh challenges not only the offense, but the defense, not only to just be good, but to be great. And him coupled with that personality and Stephon Diggs has just made this whole offense and this team come together. And again, like I said before, it's all embodied in Josh Allen. So to answer your question, Jane, hell yeah, they can win the Super Bowl. And actually, I expect it.
Woo! Give me the Ric Flair woo! The Bills can win the Super Bowl. Throwing it back to 1995. Could we get a hashtag party like it's 1995? Judge, make it happen. I already put it out there on mine, so go ahead and retweet it. Party like it's 1995. Zach, you weren't even around in 1995, were you?
I was just going to say, I think I'm the only one in this room right now who is not alive to see what we could see today. I am fired up, gents.
And Judge, what year were you born?
I was born in 1990, so I was the ripe old age of 5 years old when the last time the Buffalo Bills won the AFC East.
You're closer to me. I think you're 85, right?
85. Bruce Smith, #1 pick, my birth year.
I'm gonna one up all of you here. I was born the day Marv Levy was hired as head coach. So 1986, November 3rd. It's about time, guys, to party like it's 1995. If you're watching, hit that like button, share it. We got 203 people in the room right now. I want to get to 300 by the end of the hour. Get us up there to 300 people. Get in, well, I would say get in the comment section, but Judge is going to have to take care of that for us. It's just not coming through our system here. 1995. Do you know what happened in 1995? Anybody want to take a big guess with this team? Other than AFC, it's relative to this team, but it's more pop culture. 1995.
OJ.
OJ, the verdict came in. Okay? I'm going to tell you something.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Exactly. So the OJ verdict came in on October 3rd of that year. The first home game the Bills played after that was against the Jets, October 8th. That was the very first game I went to. That's how long it's been since the AFC East was won by the Buffalo Bills. Anybody else want to guess what happened in 1995? And this one is NBA related.
Yeah, the Houston Rockets won the NBA Finals, right, that year, I think.
Think bigger. Think
the Jordan return?
Yes. The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan came back. 1995. Okay. What was the biggest movie in 1995?
I have no idea. Dances with Wolves? I have no freaking idea.
Something with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, something
now
with
that Now that I bring it up, I got to double check myself, but I have Forrest Gump written down.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. But Costner was big.
Coolio had what song?
Gangster Paradise?
Gangster's Paradise. And gas was $1.09.
Wow.
Miss it.
I'd never had to pay for gas. It was cheaper than $2, I think. So 1995, guys, how do the Bills make it party like it's 1995 today? Judge, I'll start with you.
Josh Allen. I mean, you heard it straight from Michael Robinson's mouth. The Denver Broncos are down like 6 cornerbacks today. They are literally AJ Bouye suspended, Bryce Callahan on IR. They're down 2 other corners that were healthy. So they're down to literally Michael Lamugier, who is a promising rookie, but still Stephon Diggs versus Michael Lamugier. And then you have Bosby on the other side going up against Gabe Davis. And then you have Will Parks, a guy who had some success in Denver, went and flamed out in Philadelphia. He's a safety, and he's playing nickel corner today. So there's absolutely no excuse when your quarterback is an MVP candidate and the other team is missing that many players on the boundary for you to lose the football game, period, end of story.
All right, Zeba, I'm going to jump to you. How do the Bills party like it's 1995?
Bills just got to keep doing what the Bills have been doing as of late. Don't change anything up. The Broncos, as of right now, are only averaging 19 points a game, as we've seen as of recently from the Bills. They've allowed 15 to Pittsburgh. They allowed 17 to the Chargers. Those two offenses are by far, in my opinion at least, I don't think it's much of an opinion though, I think it's pretty much fact at this point, they are by far better offenses than Denver. And what I'm hearing from most of the media here is, what's the Bills' struggle going to be? It's going to be going against this Denver D. Well, Josh Allen is 5-0 against top 10 passing defenses this year, and they're allowing 27 points a game. That's right around the Bills' wheelhouse. So what do the Bills have to do? They got to keep playing Buffalo Bills football. They do that, they will be crowning themselves as the East champions by the end of the night tonight.
All right, Tilt, I'm going to get to you. I've got inactives. Is that where you were going?
Yeah, but before that, I guess all it took was a super chat to get the comment section functioning again. I was about to give Brian a verbal shout out, but the comment section is back. Brian Bowers coming in and says, "Man, you guys are all babies. I was born in 1980. First of all, what the hell, Brian? Because you look like you're 20 years old." And he says, "You know, I don't look like it." Like, Brian, I swear to God, I thought you were 25, dude. Born in 1980? Are you kidding me?
Dude,
It's about. It's about damn time the Bills reclaim their dominance in the AFC East. If you're worried about this game, don't be. This team is real. Can't agree with you more, Brian.
Brian, thanks for the super chat. I completely agree. Tilt, how do we party like it's 1995? And then we'll get into inactives.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on a thing that these guys haven't talked about already, it's just slow down Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay early in the game and put this game on Drew Lock's shoulders if you're the Bills defense, and make Drew Lock have to go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen in a game where you hope the Bills are ahead, and force Drew Lock to kind of make him be the guy that has to beat you, is what I'm saying. And so it starts with shutting down Gordon and Lindsay. And if the Bills do that, I like their chances Josh Allen going head-to-head with Drew Lock.
Okay, not a lot of surprises here on the inactives as we lose Judge here for a second. Judge, you left the room? All right, let's get into the inactives anyway. No surprises with Jake Fromm. TJ Yeldon is out, no surprise there. We knew Jaquan Johnson wasn't going to play, but Jonathan Harrison, who was called up from the practice squad earlier this week, is inactive, as are Tyler Kroft and Trent Murphy. Once again, Tyler Kroft, Trent Murphy, both inactive. This could be a signal. These guys might be on their way out of town, big picture. But for today, we're going to be rolling with Lee Smith and that meat wagon line that seems to be working well for our for having all those heavy guys up front. Tilt, what do you think about these inactives?
It's less surprising this week than maybe it was last week when we were going up against the Steelers. I think this week, I mean, if you look statistically, the Broncos are one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So even if the Bills have to, even if for the Bills, for whatever reason, get away from like their true identity, which is a passing team, we know that this should help them in the running game, and the matchup would dictate that the Bills should have some success running the ball. So I would say that it's not a surprise to me that Trent Murphy's inactive. I would have liked to seen maybe Tyler Kroft get back in the mix, but maybe Dawson Knox did just enough in that second half last week with drawing the big PI and converting that, obviously that big third down that was on that game milking drive, that the coaching staff said, we're going to put him out there again for another week. Not that Knox would be inactive, but perhaps Tyler Kroft would have been active if they wanted to limit Knox's reps, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So other than that, I don't think there's any real surprise for me. I think you're going to see Trent Murphy inactive probably the rest of the year at this rate.
Z-Bot, do you think Trent Murphy's kind of on the outside looking in?
Yeah, you hit it on the head, Jeff. Both those guys got to be on their way out. If they're winning and having the success without him, clearly they're continuing with that game plan. I don't see why you'd switch anything up. And like Tilt just addressed, this is a favorable matchup for the Bills on the ground. What did we just watch the Bills do at the end of the game against the Steelers? They ran out 8 minutes off the clock. They had a very dominant rush attack at the end of that game, and I think that's credit to the fact that they just tired the living hell out of the Steelers defense. But in this one, I would expect the Bills to try to keep that going. They ran a ton of clock against the Steelers. And in this one, I think it favors the Bills to be able to continue to do that. And as you're going in later in the year here, they want to get that established going into the playoffs. I think it's kind of cliche, but of course, it's one thing that everybody brings up. If you can't run the ball in the playoffs, usually your success rate goes down. I would look to see this week, especially in a favorable matchup for the Bills, try to get that established even more so. And that's coming from me, a guy who we all know does not want the Bills running the ball that often. I think that's the game plan today. And based on the inactives, it's going to seem like that winds up being the case.
I would like to see the Bills continue airing it out, get those practice reps in during the game, get those game reps in, I should say. But I got a number here, and the number is 1. And Judge, welcome back in after getting the inactives in the list for us. The number is 1, and that number represents Stefon Diggs breaking the franchise record. Let's get him more than 1. Let's get him 10 and a touchdown. He's got 3 games left in the regular season. He could probably have 25, 30 more catches.
Yeah, if you think about the season that Stefon Diggs is having, it's absolutely incredible. And Nick Gary on WGR made the comment. He said, Stefon Diggs might not be the best receiver in the National Football League just because there are guys who are a little bit more physically gifted, who maybe get in the end zone a little bit more, guys like Julio Jones and Nuke Hopkins. But he's definitely playing the best football of any receiver in the NFL right now. There is no wide receiver in the National Football League playing better or, have like more in their bag right now than Stefon Diggs. So keep feeding this guy the ball. Just keep feeding him the ball. He should get 10 to 15 targets today. If he's going up against Michael Amujier with Kareem Jackson, maybe playing a little bit of, double coverage there, get that man the ball, get that man the rock, get the ball in his hands. Not only let him break the record, but let's get this dude into the end zone some more so he can get the respect that he deserves. Devontae Adams has got 14, 15 touchdowns this year. Stefon Diggs has 4 or 5. So that's the difference. That's why Stefon Diggs isn't talked about the way those other guys are. So let's get that man in the end zone this weekend.
Hey, I couldn't agree more. I got him on my fantasy team in the semifinals of my league. So let's get him 4 or 5 touchdowns this week if we can. Now let's have Devin Singletary throw a couple of those because I'm playing against Josh Allen. But till this trade for Stefon Diggs is playing perfectly for Brandon Beane, for Sean McDermott. They've been rewarded with contracts, but it's just a glimpse of what these two can do. And it's probably the best move to get Stefon Diggs into this locker room since they've been here, is it not?
It is. And, like Steve was saying, with Devontae Adams having all those touchdowns, it's kind of a testament to how much the Bills spread the ball around, too, in the fact that Stefon Diggs still has 100 catches with as much as they spread it around scoring-wise, with Gabriel Davis leading the team in receiving touchdowns. Beasley's got his. Knox has a couple, They have really spread it out touchdown-wise, and Diggs has still managed to get those 100 catches. So this move, there was a lot of chatter before the season as to, the Bills looking like they made the right move here with Stefon Diggs, and the season that he's having has kind of validated that, right? It's validated that the move that Beane made to get Diggs here was the move. And I don't care about the Justin Jefferson comparisons because what Diggs is for this team is exactly what we needed. Justin Jefferson wouldn't be the same on the Bills, just like Diggs wouldn't, have had the same year on the Vikings, given that they've gone so run heavy. So it's worked out for both teams, and this is a perfect fit, Diggs and Allen. I love that this is a duo that is here to stay for years to come. This isn't like a one and done situation when we brought T.O. in at the end of his career. It's not like that. This is a duo that we would expect to kind of become the new Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, the new Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, the new Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, the new Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, that type of duo that you're going to see for years to come. And it's been really incredible to just see that a move the Bills made of this caliber actually plays out favorably on the field.
It's a great point there, Till. And Zeba, I'm going to let you take the comment from DK. DK, thank you for the super chat. And Zeba, I'm gonna guess that you're gonna say no, that the Bills should not get rid of John Brown, despite the way Gabe Davis is playing.
You nailed it on the head. It's almost like you were reading my mind. I would love to find a way to keep John Brown around. Let's look at what he brings to the table and also his personal situation as a whole. He's 30 years old. He's had the best success in his career in Buffalo. I can't imagine John Brown wants to go anywhere else. I'm assuming at his age, what he's done in Buffalo and what they're building there both parties are going to try to find a way to keep him around. And Tilt said this a couple weeks ago. I've addressed this a couple times in my own show. Just I thought it was the best way to put this. John Brown is Josh Allen's safety blanket. And when Tilt said that, it really resonated with me because that's the best way to describe John Brown. Is he going to be Stephon Diggs and what we've seen out of him? No, based on the age and production level in general, I don't think so. But John Brown is a guy that I want on the team. And if you look at his contract, yes, he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2022, and he's owed about $8.1 million next year. I think the Bills find a way to restructure that with his age and his production level, what he brings to the team as a leader and what he offers to Josh Allen. I think John Brown finds a way to stick around. And just from the fans' perspective, I love the guy. He really came here and was one of those guys to really flip the switch for the Bills. He was an integral part of what the Bills had going on from the beginning. So if it's me and I'm in that position, I find a way to keep John Brown as a Bill for the rest of his career.
And there is some validity to what DK is saying, because it's really unfortunate what the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott built this team perfectly. They built them to hit that Super Bowl window while Josh Allen was still under his rookie contract. What they didn't foresee was a global pandemic, which wouldn't allow fans in the stands, which would cut the NFL's revenue significantly, dropping the salary cap next year to what could be $175 million. So if the Buffalo Bills want to keep guys like Matt Milano and Darrell Williams and Taryn Johnson, other guys whose contracts are up, they might have to sacrifice a Vernon Butler who just started getting on a heater and a John Brown. There are some rumors, there is some speculation that it could get up to $195 million, which could save the likes of John Brown and maybe even Vernon Butler as well. So let's hope and let's pray the NFL can figure out how to get to $195 million, because again, it's just really unfortunate for these Buffalo Bills. But that being said, anything you can do to keep that guy around, anything you could do at all, you got to do it, because this offense is just different when he's in there.
I absolutely agree. If you can keep this wide receiver room together one more year, you absolutely do it. But what we talked about in the last hour with the Clay and Knapp and Max is that we're going to start seeing the hard cuts coming up. The hard Matt Milano might be the first and biggest example of not being able to re-sign the guys that you have developed and who have developed very well. Because you're going to have to do it over and over and over again the way the salary cap is structured. Because if you're going to pay the big money to Josh Allen and to the Deion Dawkins and Trey Whites, you're going to have a budget for certain positions, and Matt Milano might not fit that budget. And John Brown, as much as I do want to keep him around, if you can at all costs, do it. Well, maybe I shouldn't say at all costs. Keep John Brown around if you can, but not at all costs.
And you got to think about it too. Like if you look at the roster, Vernon Butler saves you a lot of money if you cut Vernon Butler. I think it's easy to replace sort of a defensive tackle. You can go out and you can find a body. John Brown, you can go out in free agency and find like a one-dimensional speed guy to platoon with Gabe Davis. So if you want a speed look, you can go out and find like a Philip Dorsett or something and pay him 1 year, $1 million. There are guys like that in the free agent market. Matt Milano, next man up. Could Tyrell Dodson be the guy? There's always those guys hanging around in the late first, early second round that are plug and play linebackers in the National Football League. So when you start looking at team building, there are cornerstone players. Trey White, your CB1, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, your safeties. Ed Oliver, your pass rushing 3 technique. Josh Allen, obviously, and Stephon Diggs and Deion Dawkins, your blindside tackle. So it comes down to what positions are the most valuable and what aren't. And when we have Stephon Diggs, when you have Cole Beasley, when you have Gabe Davis, he could be the odd man out in that situation because you can find a guy with his traits for cheaper. Now, again, hopefully this is all prefaced with let's hope this doesn't happen, but that's what happens when you start building a good football team.
Yeah, and I like that comment I threw on the screen, Z-Bot. If McDermott and Frazier are worth their salary, they can find another Milano. I mean, he's a 5th-round draft pick. We love the guy. We love what he's done for this team, but we can go out and do it again.
Tyrell Dodson, baby.
Exactly. And if you look at look at the emergence of AJ Klein. I mean, we're seeing guys fill into roles here on the Bills that maybe wouldn't have otherwise. And look, I love Matt Milano. I really do. And I think if that guy stayed healthy among the top tier linebackers in the league. He ranks up there. Of course, nobody talks about him. He's a Buffalo Bill, and he's one of those guys who goes under the radar. It's just unfortunate for him that he can't stay healthy, but he's another one of those guys. And I feel like we beat this dead horse a lot, but of course we have to. These seem to be the top two conversations. Are we going to keep John Brown? Are we going to keep Matt Milano? But I come back to what I see out of this team and what I think the players also want back in return. If I look at Matt Milano, I think he can confidently look in the mirror and say, I understand that I cannot seem to find a way to be healthy. The Bills have believed in me. Whenever I am healthy, I am a massive part of this team. Does that weigh into contract negotiations? Is he willing to take a cut? And if he's not, are other teams willing to pay him what he's looking to get paid? They are as fully aware of his history as the Bills are. I look at Matt Milano's situation. I think everybody benefits from him finding a way to take a cheaper amount of money, keep him in Buffalo, and hopefully the health resolves itself as time goes on.
All right, smash that like button, guys. Share us. We dipped below 200. My goal is to get 300 viewers in this before the end of the hour. Share us, get other people in. And guys, I know we kind of went this direction because that's where the conversation steered us. But back to today, back to big picture. The AFC East is on the line. Thank you. It is perfect timing. We are just a little bit ahead of ourselves because that's where the conversation went to. We are in Denver. The Bills, since I think it's 1965, the conversation was, are 2-7 in Denver. We can't take this game lightly, but we also have the AFC East on the line. What's it going to mean, Tilt, to get a victory today? And what's it going to mean for your bank account buying all that merch that says AFC East champions?
Well, you just said the phrase thinking big picture. I'm not buying any AFC East champion merch because I'm expecting bigger things. Okay. And I'm saying that
prediction
because listen. I've had this conversation with a couple people. My expectation at the beginning of the season was that we could win this division. And Steve and I talked about this at length. Like winning the division, getting that home playoff game, and winning that one playoff game was kind of like our preseason sort of expectation and what we would be okay with. But expectations have changed. They have changed based on how this team has played this year, and it's changed based on what we've seen largely from Josh Allen in his development from year 2 to year 3. So for me now, winning the AFC East is great. I'm not trying to take anything away because it's another hurdle that we're going to have. We inevitably should clear. And I'm hoping we do that today. Cleared the Patriots hurdle this year. We finally beat them when it was a meaningful game. We cleared the Monday Night Football hurdle by winning on Monday Night Football since the last time was 1999. So this is another hurdle. Like it's a mental thing for me now, clearing these hurdles to get you to the point where you start checking off these things off these terrible lists that you don't want to be on, to give you the confidence that when you get into the playoffs now, the next one is winning the playoff game. And then after that, let's see where we can go. So winning the AFC East is great. That gets you the home playoff game that I wanted and I expected, but I'm thinking bigger, and I'm thinking I'm going to save my merch purchases for a little bit later into January.
I'm going to give you one reason to make one merch purchase, because you have one Patriots fan that you have hated all along, and you're just going to ship it right to them.
That I could do. I'll buy one shirt in their size. I'll ship it right to them. Whatever they do with it, it's not going to matter. I'll just know. It's one of the. It's the Schrodinger's cat thing, right? Like I'll know one way or another. It won't matter what the reaction is, right? I know he's going to have it. Whatever he does with it, it doesn't matter.
If the Buffalo Bills want to make a lot of money too, I know one of the hottest commodities in thrift stores and thrift shops, and I was lucky enough to inherit one from, believe it or not, my mother, and it's a women's shirt, but I wear it anyway. I don't care. The crew neck.
No, you do care. You do care, and that's why you wear it.
Oh, it was a men's shirt that she bought, but it was those crew neck sweaters, those crew neck cotton sweaters with it says AFC East champions on it. Those things are absolutely balling and one of the hottest commodities in every single thrift shop. So if the Buffalo Bills were smart, they would go away from whatever the hell that Bills Mafia gear that they're trying to sell is, and they would. Randy Harbor says on brand for Judge, and they would sell some very nice cotton, old champion style crew neck sweaters. But to Dave's point, this is all part of the process, right? Sean McDermott got here. It was turn the culture around. They fought tooth and nail and got themselves into the playoffs. Then they went and they got their franchise quarterback and hit the reset button and rebuilt their roster. And last year they made it to the playoffs. So the logical next step in this process is win the division and win a playoff game. I like that for Matthew. Win a division and win a playoff game. So this year, my expectations...
Not underwear.
My expectations for this season is to win the division and win a playoff game. That was my expectation going into the season. Dave says expectations change. Once they win this division, once they win a playoff game, then there will be a hard reset for me, and I will be all on that Super Bowl train. I will be all on that Super Bowl train because we'll be playing with house money. But yeah, I'm with Dave. The expectations are higher. It's not just the AFC East. We got to do some damage in the playoffs if we're this Buffalo Bills team.
First of all, do not get that song stuck in my head, so don't play it. All right?
It's great, too.
Don't play it.
Play it.
I liked Creed in the mid-2000s, but, since 2008, just no thank you. Z-Bot, this is something you've never seen. You've never, ever been in this position. What's it going to mean for you? You're going to have to get a perch, right?
When we made the playoffs a few years back, after I stopped crying and showered off the champagne and sobered up a little bit, the first thing I did was buy the hat with the playoff patch, the sweatshirt and the shirt that said playoffs, Jeff. If you don't think I'm spending $500 by night's end tonight with the merch that they drop, you're out of your mind. And back to Tilton Judge's point, the expectations are higher. And unfortunately, my credit card bill is going to be just as high because I'm going to buy every single thing that these guys drop. I don't care what it is. If it's boxers, if it's socks, you name it, I will own it. And here's my strategy.
Mangeray.
I'll buy the Mangeray. We'll get Manscaped to sponsor a set that's got the Division Champs on it. I'll buy it all. But here is the strategy. I put enough money on the Bills spread today that's going to cover the whole thing. So it's free. It's on the Bills, just like everything else. Not only are they going to win the division, but they are going to win me a bunch of merch today. So I am perfectly fine with this scenario that I have coming up. But in all seriousness, yes, the expectations are higher. But Jeff, like you alluded to, I have never seen this before in my entire life. And I tweeted out last night, it didn't hit me until last night. It's kind of weird. It's a Saturday game. It kind of feels a bit off. A lot of college football on today. It feels weird, and it adds to the feeling of I really don't know how to handle this. This is a very odd situation for me. And I think Tilt put it very well, and I think Nat put it well, who commented on my tweet. He said, enjoy it, have a couple more beers, have some extra wings, but the expectations are absolutely higher this season. I think that's why it feels weird to me. The AFC East, which years ago would have been the greatest accomplishment of my fanhood, now seems like it is almost a guarantee and a given at this point. It almost seems to take away the luster for it a bit for me because that's just the expectation. I don't hate it. Although it seems like maybe I should not like the fact that it doesn't feel as amazing as I thought it would. I love that fact because that's where they're at. They went from nothing to everything this quickly, and that's why I feel the way I do.
And, I will never question your fanhood because in this room, apparently Judge has told us that it's worse to question your fanhood than your manhood. Wearing women's stuff. But DK coming in with the comments. Thank you again, DK. We appreciate it. I would like to see a couple of blowouts before playoffs. We always seem to keep games close. Hopefully today is one of those blowouts. Look, I couldn't agree more. I said in an earlier hour, you got to be hyper aware. Don't leave weaknesses on tape. And what that means is you've got Vic Fangio, who is a good defensive mind. And then the following week, you've got Bill Belichick. And if you leave a weakness on tape, those two guys are going to find it. Now, don't leave any weaknesses on tape this week because Bill Belichick is coming up. He will find it. He will exploit it. And this is a copycat league. And then all of a sudden you're sunk because everyone else is going to copy what the Patriots do if they find a weakness and exploit it. So go out there, do the air raid for you two. Josh Allen, throw it all over the field. Now, for fantasy reasons, I'd like to see them get into the red zone and Devin Singletary throw the touchdowns to Stephon Diggs because I'm playing against Josh Allen. But yes, I agree with you, DK, because last year the Bills stumbled in their final 4, 5, 6 games. They got into the playoffs late, but they did not have momentum coming into the playoffs last year. And I can see Judge has something to say as always.
I got nothing, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I got nothing. I'm just sitting here in awe of your comment. No, that was a great comment because you said they don't leave anything negative on tape. Don't leave anything bad on tape because the worst possible thing that could happen to the Buffalo Bills right now, who are on an absolute heater, winning 6 of their last 7 games. It should be 7 in a row.
If it wasn't 7 in a row.
If it wasn't for if it wasn't for Hail Murray, is if anyone's going to exploit Josh Allen and find a weakness in this Buffalo offense, it's either Vic Fangio or it's Bill Belichick. Mm-hmm. So if one of those two can solve the puzzle, they can solve the riddle. To put that tape out 2 weeks before the playoffs start is something that would really be unfortunate. And the only thing going through my mind the last 60 seconds or so, Jeff, was how do I clip what you said and get it out to the people on the Twitter and the Facebook
Do it.
before kickoff. That's the only thought that was going through my head, man.
True producer right there. Yeah, leave it up to the TV talent to talk and let the producer produce. All right, we'll leave it at that. No, but I just it went back to you want to see a couple of blowouts before the playoffs. I agree, but then it comes into, well, do you want to see Josh Allen go into New England and absolutely demoralize them with that risk? Or if you have the division locked up, how important is that seeding versus not putting any negatives on tape? Now, I think that's a long shot, putting the big negatives on tape versus chasing that. We're still in the hunt for the 1 seed. We are. We can still go grab it. It's highly improbable, but it is still possible. You can still get the 2nd seed, which is a higher probability. Tilt and Zach B, where are you at? What are you thinking these final 3 games coming down the stretch? And we'll start with you, Tilt.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the seeding would have been more important had there been fans in the stands this year, right? I think whether the Bills are the 2, 3, 4, right, they're going to get that 1 home game. And yes, obviously the higher the seed they are, they're likely to get multiple home games. But to me, the seeding is less important because of the fans not being there. And then secondly, I also don't think the seeding is as important because if I look at the teams that are in the AFC playoff mix between the Browns, the Colts, the teams that we would end up having to play, right? I don't think there's one super weak team that the Bills could end up playing. Even if the Ravens somehow sneak in, that's not an easy game, obviously, either. So for me,
keep going. I got a point on the Ravens, though.
I was just gonna say, whether we play the Ravens, the Browns, right? We're probably not, the Titans are probably going to win the division, so we're probably not going to play them. But Ravens, Browns, Colts, one of these teams, honestly, they're all pretty good. It's not all of a sudden, maybe, I don't even New England or maybe even Miami sneaks in there. They're not, none of those games are going to be easy. So for me, the seeding's less important. It's more important for me to see the Bills finish with momentum, right? However that takes shape, whether it's maybe winning the last 2 games of the year because they're both division games in some kind of style. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned more about going into the playoffs with momentum from an on the field standpoint than I am worried about whatever the seeding shakes out to be.
Well, you brought up the Ravens, and the Ravens are why I said don't leave anything negative on tape, because last year in the playoffs, Tennessee straight up stole Buffalo's defensive blueprint to go and beat the Ravens. The Bills were the ones who set the blueprint to have success against that high-firing Lamar Jackson-led Ravens offense. Buffalo really did a nice job shutting it down, except for the 1 pass to Mark Andrews. Tennessee builds on that. That's why you don't want to leave anything negative on tape in these final 3 games. Z-Bot, where are you in the chase for seeding versus resting guys against the Broncos and the Patriots and the Dolphins?
Unlike Till, I think seeding actually matters because right now the 2 seed, which is Pittsburgh, would play Miami. And where the Bills sit right now at the 3 seed, they would play the Colts. I want nothing to do with the Colts right now. They just ran the Raiders out of the building. They beat the Packers a couple weeks ago. They absolutely torched a Titans team that beat the living snot out of us. I think one of the last teams I want to see right now who seem to be getting hot are the Indianapolis Colts, who I'd want to see as a team who Josh Allen has owned since he's come into the league, especially in December. You go out to Miami and have that, or you still stay in Buffalo and have Miami come to Buffalo. It is the Dolphins. If you're asking me right now who I'd rather play, the Dolphins or the Colts, it's not even a debate for me. It's the Dolphins. And in looking at that, I just think that matters. And obviously, like you mentioned, momentum is a thing. And you talked about last season. The thing that differs to me between last season and this season, last season's schedule was by far a much easier schedule than what the Bills have had to deal with this year. And yes, they did kind of spur out of control towards the end of the year last year and didn't end so hot. No matter how this year ends, I'm still by far more blown away with what I've seen out of the Bills this year than last year, just because of the opponents they've played and the offensive production. And now we're seeing the defense hit stride. There is no excuse for the Bills to lose even one of these final 3 games. They are going to be favored in all 3 games. They are the better team in all 3 games. And I truly think if you look at Pittsburgh's schedule, I think they lose to the Browns the way the Browns are playing. I think they lose to Indianapolis the way the Colts are playing. If that all pans out, the Bills get the 2 seed. And at the end of the day, I think it winds up making a difference.
Can you, Judge, I saw you actually raising your hand. What's up with that?
Well, a really bad thought went through my head when Bot was talking about not wanting to face the Colts. Could you picture, a nice wild card weekend playoff game in Ralph Wilson Stadium or Bill Stadium, whatever you want to call it, and the Buffalo Bills get out to a 35-0 lead on the Indianapolis Colts?
Oh, dear Lord.
Because who is the head coach?
Don't even let that come in your mind.
That's exactly what dropped into my mind. That is exactly what dropped into my mind.
One more reason to go for the 2 seed right there. I want nothing to do with Frank Wright at all in the postseason. I want nothing to do with it. Nothing to do.
So here's how the standings look coming into today. You got Kansas City sitting in the 1, Pittsburgh 2, Buffalo is 3 with a game lead on the Titans, but we know that the Titans do have the head-to-head tiebreaker, so you want to keep that lead extended as far as possible. That's your 4 division winners. Cleveland sitting in 5th. Indianapolis is 6th. They're both 9-4. Miami is 8-5. They're on the inside. Baltimore is sitting on the outside. If we keep it at that 17 playoff, which I fully expect the NFL to make all efforts to keep that 17 playoff. So Baltimore is currently sitting on the outside looking in. Las Vegas is 7-7, and the team from Rhode Island.
Raiders are out. Raiders are mathematically eliminated.
Have they been
5% chance?
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think they dropped down to less than 5% chance. But Z-Bot bringing in the Miami Dolphins, playing those guys 2 weeks in a row. It is what it is. If it's going to be in Buffalo, it will be what it is. But on the note of Miami, what if we could pull a I don't want to bring this up, but I want to slide it in there as easily as I can. No jokes, Judge. What if the Bills could pull a 2004 Willie Parker game on Miami? The game means something for the Dolphins. The Bills, they have what they have. They don't need the game. They're going to rest, and then all of a sudden TJ Yeldon and Tywan Jones rip it off for 100 each. What do we think about that possibility, Tilt?
Well, if the Bills are resting their starters in that last game, it means their seeding's locked up. So to Bot's point, if we think seeding matters and there's still a chance the Bills could shuffle around a bit, then that's the only situation where I would see that they would actually do that, is if the seeding was locked up. We saw that last year, right? The Bills were locked into that seed that they had last year going into the last week. With how tight the races are right now and how tight it is between Tennessee and the Bills, I just don't see that, because I still see week 17 mattering for the Bills from a seeding standpoint. So if they do care about seeding, I don't think they're going to be resting their guys.
Judge?
All I know is I want to bring on Tua. Bring on Tua. I want Tua in here in January. That's who I want to play against. A rookie quarterback in January with a noodle arm. That's who I want to face. I don't care how good their defense is. So whatever it takes to get us to play Tua in that first playoff game, I am all for it. Whether it is playing our starters and playing Josh Allen the whole game, or whether it is literally calling up half our practice squad and only playing defense and just kneeling the football for 4 quarters. Whatever it takes. If we need to lose, just kneel the football the whole game. Just kneel it the whole game. And if we need to win, play your starters. Whatever it takes, I want Tua. I want him to have to come into Bill Stadium, fans or no fans, in January and beat us with this goddamn arm. Because I'm feeling pretty confident that the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, and that's not a knock on Tua. Okay, it's not a knock on Tua. He's a rookie with a tiny arm. Like he's like you have in seventh and 8th grade health class, you have the guy flexing, right? And the one arm is really big and the other arm is really small. And the really big arm is the one who just jerks off a lot. And the other one is the one that doesn't. Josh Allen is the arm that jerks off a lot. And Tua is the arm that doesn't jerk off a lot. And that's what I want in January.
So what you're telling me is Tua was never the teenager with really strong wrists.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
All right, can you give us a Manscaped read since we're on that topic, Judge? Just give us the Manscaped promo, and there's no way you top what Clay did in the first hour.
There's no way I would ever top what Clay did because I also don't have a script in front of me to either. So I'm just going to wing this one. So, ladies and gentlemen.
The weather outside is frightful.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. The weather outside is frightful. The weather inside can be delightful. If you decide to head over to manscaped.com and use the promo code FUNADDICTS, get yourself 20% off and free shipping. You'll be sipping eggnogs by the fire, and I don't know where else to go from there. So
yeah,
Manscaped. You painted a picture.
Yeah. Get yourself some Manscaped before the holiday season, guys. Let's get us a win before Christmas and get that AFC East merch. We got to get into helmets. I have a hard deadline to be out by 2:00 my time so that I can drive home because I'm in my office right now because I got it. And it's a small town. It's a 10-minute drive, but I need to, make the drinks and maybe pop some burritos in the microwave or whatever because I'm not fancy getting. I'm not in Buffalo. I can't get good wings here. So, you know what time it is, fellas.
Oh boy. I'm tied for first place, right?
I think I'm undefeated.
No, you're in second. You are solidly in second with the same record as Clay, who is in first.
All right, so we're going to change that this.
All right,
we're going to change that this week.
We're going to change that this week, and normally I go from bottom up in the standings, but since we got a hodgepodge of guys here, who can give me the best 1995 party like it's 1995? Ric Flair, woo, will get to go first. So, guys, go for it.
Woo! Woo!
I got to go with Bot on that one. Bot's going to get to go first. The Helmet of Death, guys, it's a way to bring in, the other games around the league each week, and it is my favorite segment from the Dan Le Batard show. I thought, man, that would be a lot of fun to play with my boys. So we're playing the Helmet of Death. Bot, you get to go first. Bot is sitting in 6th place. He's 2-2, and we picked the Browns last week for you, Bot. And so you can thank Lamar Jackson for dropping the Cleveland Browns off at Lake Erie.
I had the Browns plus 3-2 in that one off the safety, so don't bring that game up.
Oh, no.
Bot, you pulled the Houston Texans, and Houston this week they're at Indianapolis 1:00 tomorrow.
No way. Give me the random selection. Go back in the bucket. No way.
All right, we're going to go back in the bucket. Bot is locked in on this game.
You want to see the Colts right now?
Son of a bitch. No. You lucky son of a bitch.
Let's go. East champs and a dub in the left column, man. I'm on a tear right now. Are you kidding?
I need your picks right now.
Come on, babe. No, you don't need my picks, man.
Hold up. Before the next pick, we got Manny from the Buff City Pod coming in. We're talking about Dynasty playoffs. He said David's going to lose in Dynasty this week because Manny, who took Josh number 2 overall, and this is a Dynasty league with a salary cap, so it makes sense because my man Josh Allen is going to beat Tilton. Okay, is that the playoffs, Dave, or is that some kind of losers bracket that you're in? Are you still in the real bracket?
Yeah, I'm in the semifinals, and like that's fine.
I'm
But,
in the losers
And
bracket.
I'm facing Josh in the semifinals as well.
I mean, I'm facing Josh in 2 leagues this week in both semifinal matches I'm in, and that's fine. But I mean, I don't know, like Manny. I mean, I had Justin Herbert go the other night. He had a pretty good game, so we'll see what happens. I mean, he's definitely the favorite, but I've got a chance.
All right, who's going to go next? I need a competition to decide who's going to go next, and I'm not going to base it off of the Ric Flair, but we said Gangster's Paradise was one of the top songs in 1995. Drop me a line out of Gangster's Paradise if you want to go.
As
next.
I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I'll take a look at myself and I've lost it.
Realize
Dang
there's
it.
nothing left. Go ahead,
Dang
Judge. Go ahead.
Dang it.
Come on,
Cue
Till.
up
Give
the
me
Weird
something
Al
from
parody.
95.
That's the better
There
version.
you
The
go.
Weird Al parody. The Amish parody.
You were 10 years old, Till. You got to give me something. from
Coolio
95.
did the theme song from Keenan and Kel. That's how I remember Coolio.
Who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange
Kel loves
soda.
orange soda,
All
baby.
that was like the
I do
version of SNL. It was that was their version. So
All right, Judge. We'll get on to you, Judge, because you're tied for you're in second place, tied with Clay, who's in first place. And Judge, you have the Carolina Panthers and Carolina.
I'm gonna get the Packers today.
I was
Packers.
I was pretty adamant last week to throw the Eagles back in, and they went and upset the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to be just as adamant this week and say, I love you, Joe Brady. There's a chance you could upset the Packers, but put it back. I'd rather take my chance.
Don't
if
you
I
have
get
the Packers going to the Super Bowl?
I do the Packers Bills are my Super Bowl prediction.
All right, so we're throwing the Panthers back because they have the Packers after the Bills play the Broncos today. Judge, you are locked in. The over-under on that game is the line is 8. Green Bay is 8. The over-under is 51.5. And Judge, you unlucky son of a bitch.
Oh no! Oh no!
He's going to
How do
take
you
the
feel?
L.
That's got to feel good for you.
Judge. Bye, bud.
Bye, Judge. Thank you for taking that one so I don't get it.
Yes, that's really nice. Really nice.
All right, Tilt.
I see Steve's got our original Bills guys shirt on from like
You know I do. Gotta
last
rep
year.
it.
It looks pretty tight.
Tilt.
Hey.
You got the Saints, buddy.
No way. They're playing the Chiefs. And Michael Thomas is out. Throw him back in.
Breeze
You're
is
gonna
back.
throw him back that quickly? One rib Drew Brees.
Nah.
You're going to throw him back.
Wait, what is my standing, by the way? Let me.
Oh yeah, Tilt. You are 3-3. You're half a game behind me. I'm 4-2.
I thought I was like 4-1 for some reason. All right, that's fine.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. You've taken a couple L's on the chin here. You had the Raiders last week.
I did. Must have been picked for me because I don't.
Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah. You know when you guys don't get on, I pick for you. So
that's gross. Yeah.
All right, you're throwing the Saints back.
I'm throwing them in. Yeah. Even though I have them in the Super Bowl, they're one of my Super Bowl teams.
Houston Texans.
Oh God. Okay. I mean,
we said
who did Clay pick? Who did Clay pick?
They're playing the Colts.
Clay got
Texans
the
are playing the
Dolphins.
Colts. Yeah.
Texans are playing the Colts. You're locked in with the Texans.
That's
the Texans
Give them as much
are
as you can.
7.5 dogs. Texans are 7.5 point dogs. Over under is 51 on that game. You don't like them.
Sub 500 after this week. So.
All right. We got a pick for Mitch before I go. Mitch hasn't been on. I'll go last. So we're aiming for the Jets for Mitch, right? Mitch is kind of playing.
You can give him the
sides.
Broncos if you want.
You know what? I actually did throw it back in.
You know what we should have done, Jeff? We should have done the white elephant style where you could steal one time from the other person.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah,
And
let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's start over.
I'll give Clay the Broncos.
Well, I would have to get Knapp and Clay back on. And what did I just do with that damn helmet? Who did you? All right, the Texans. There we go. All right, here we go. We will give Mitch the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Texans aren't looking so bad now.
Who are they playing? The Ravens. There we go. Hey, maybe St. Doug could do us a favor and
the
give
Duggernaut.
the Ravens a little
How
what do you
about
think?
they're going to keep him? How about they're keeping him, by the way? Isn't that insane?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Like, what is that guy? What does he do? Like, what blackmail does Doug Marrone have? He goes nowhere. The guy's got a job no matter what. It's unbelievable.
Maybe he wants to coach in London. That's the thing. I don't know. All right, my pick here. The over-under on that game, by the way, Jags and Ravens, 48. Baltimore, 13.5-point favorites. You think that could hit?
I don't know. They've been kind of like I feel like Baltimore's kind of if they get down behind in the down and distance, they're not that good. But
I pulled the Bears. I pulled the Bears. They're playing at the Vikings on Sunday, 1 o'clock. The over-under is 46. Minnesota is 3-point favorites at home. You get that 3 points when you're at home. And I think I'm going to ride with this because I picked up the Bears defense late for my fantasy league. And they've done a pretty good job for me so far. So I'm going to ride with the Bears here and not risk throwing it back. So maybe the Bears could do me a fantasy favor and here in the standings. What do you guys think?
I don't hate it. I mean, the Vikings are prone to just implode at any time. So
yeah, I'm still too distraught from who I picked to even have any commentary at this point.
Well, Judge, we hope that you're solidly in second place again at the end of the day.
The real second place. The real second place.
We got the helmets out of the way. We got 196 people in the chat room. Get us up to 200 again. Guys, give me your bold predictions, and I'm going to start with Z-Bot.
So the Bills, the last 4 wins they've had have all been by 10 or more points. If you look at their opponents, you have Seattle, the Chargers, the Niners, and the Steelers. I don't think it's too much of a hot take to say all 4 of those teams are better than Denver. The spread today, as of right now, is 5.5. I think the Bills cover with ease. I think they get their biggest margin of victory win this season. I think the Bills wind up taking this one 31-14. I think they really stomp on a team in the Broncos who had a decent game last week. Drew Lock had his best performance of his career. I think he comes back down to earth. And for the love of God, I don't want to see any dancing out of Drew Lock unless it's pregame, because we all know how that goes for the Bills. So keep Drew Lock's dance moves off the field. Bills win by multiple scores today.
Bills by $1 billion?
Bills by $1 billion. I'm going to smoke that blue cheese blunt with Brother Bill after the victory, too. You know how that goes.
All right, Tilt, you getting in on the blue cheese?
Sure, why not? Pass it over. Puff, puff, pass. I'll take a hit.
Did you guys see that, by the way? I could not believe what I was watching. It was absolutely unbelievable.
We're doing bold predictions, right? My bold prediction, I'll carry it over from the Thursday show. My bold prediction, and this is pretty bold. Tyler Bass sets the NFL record field goal distance today.
That's Bass's bomb flying in the air right there.
Yeah, he's going to do it. And the Bills are going to give him a chance at the end of the first half. They'll be up by like 2 touchdowns already, and they're going to have like 5 seconds left on the clock. And they're going to be like, yeah, sure. McDermott's going to trot him out there, and it's going to be like, go get him, kid, knock it through, and he's going to set the record.
Judge, what do you think about that?
I'm all for it. My bold prediction was, so on Thursday's show, we were going through the bold prediction, and I wrote down that Devin Singletary and Zach Moss would have a combined 150 rushing yards. And a lot of people on the show were just like anti-run the entire show. So I switched my prediction to Gabe Davis 2 touchdowns. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually switch my prediction. Both Devin Singletary and Zach Moss go for over 100 yards this game. Wow. The Buffalo Bills find a balance. They try to counter the Denver Broncos, who are going to be blitzing the Buffalo Bills like crazy. And we have 2 running backs over 100 yards this game.
100 rushing or 100 total?
100 rushing.
Wow.
I said Singletary and Moss each get 100. My first week doing the BF tailgate with you guys, which was against New England in the home game, and they both had above 80. So maybe let's. I would actually be very good with that because I have Singletary, and maybe we could have Singletary or Moss throw a touchdown to Stephon Diggs, and maybe we keep Josh's yards
fumble at the goal line, and Stephon Diggs recovers.
Hey, maybe Josh Allen fumbles at the goal line and kicks it out to Stephon Diggs or Devin Singletary. I don't know.
Have
20 minutes you're like, don't show anybody any film, but at the same time, have Singletary run a trick play and throw the ball to Diggs for a touchdown.
Hey, show no weaknesses on film. No weaknesses on film. My bold prediction is going to be a trick play for a touchdown. Who it's going to be, I have no idea. So I'm going to throw out there Allen to Dawkins for a touchdown.
Nice.
But it's not going to matter because the game's going to be, I think, my score prediction. We got 5 minutes left here on the BF tailgate. You guys can certainly hang on a little while longer, too, if you want. But I got to get home. My score prediction is going to be probably in the 38 to 22 range, Buffalo. But I hesitate to give Denver 22 just because if they're going to use the rushing attack, they're going to eat up clock, and they're going to limit their opportunities to get the ball back. But 38-22 is my score prediction, and Judge looks like he's pondering that one.
I mean, I have a very similar score. Mine's 34-16. I think the Buffalo Bills get a decent amount of touchdowns this game, kick a couple of field goals, and the Broncos, we bend but we don't break. Drew Lock is a pretty erratic quarterback. He tends to turn the ball over. I think he'll have a couple of crucial turnovers, which will put us in good field position, which will help put us over that 30 mark. And I just don't think that they'll have the ability to punch it in when they get into the red zone, at least not too many times. So my prediction was 34-16.
All right, Z-Bot, your prediction.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's 31-14. I think the Bills have displayed that they're capable of scoring that amount against a top-tier defense. I just think the Bills' D is hitting stride. I don't think Drew Lock gets it rolling like he did last week against the Bills' D that's really coming together. So 31-14 is what I'm going with.
Tilt 31-14. We got 38-22, and whatever Judge said, I wasn't listening.
34-16.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills 31, Denver 23. I'm not going to say the word that Steve doesn't want me to use anymore, but I think the Bills are comfortably in control.
Cheapy.
Yeah, exactly. But we need to get that 31 because you got to have the 4 touchdowns and then the Bass record-setting field goal. Denver's going to have a touchdown and 3 field goals, and then they're going to score 1 at the end because the Bills, for as good as they've been, they've seemed to, when they get like there's 10, 14-point leads, they seem to let the other team kind of just march down pretty easily once they get kind of like a lead where it's a little comfortable. Happening against San Francisco, happening against Pittsburgh. So I could see Denver getting 1 at the end that really is inconsequential to the outcome of the game. I could see it being like 31-16 at the very end, and then Denver gets like some crappy touchdown at the end. So I'll say 31-23 Bills.
31-23 from Tilt. And I have a prediction here. Bills AFC East champs. And we might see a little you've lost that love and feeling from Brother Bill. That's going to be a prediction. Producing that Bill. Brother Bill producing that TV. Maybe a little Josh Allen, a little Tom Brady, Maverick and Goose singing to Bill Belichick. You've lost that love and feeling.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
I already pitched it to him. I told him, here's the video. I'm giving you the idea. Produce it for when the Bills lock up the AFC East title.
We got Jack M coming in here. He says, y'all sleeping on the Broncos, almost beat the Chiefs and the Dolphins. We're not sleeping on the Broncos. Like we said,
we're enjoying the ride.
We're enjoying the ride. But here's the thing. And this is the thing that we need to get used to. If the Denver Broncos beat us today, it's not because they're the better football team. It's because the Buffalo Bills didn't play up to their caliber of football.
The only team that is capable of beating the Bills today
is the Bills.
Are the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only 100%. Team in the league right now today that can beat the Buffalo Bills is themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Without a doubt.
Guys, are you guys going to stay on a few minutes? I got to jump off and get home.
I finished this beer like 20 minutes ago, and I've been like falling asleep. So I need to go get back on the drinking train.
I got to go out as well.
We're all
getting the pressure down. It's already escalating. I already know it's coming too, so I have to just start getting prepared.
I asked the other 3 guys for an AA, but I want to let's go Buffalo. So let's go Buffalo.
Let's go Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Woo! Go Bills.
Go Bills.